SMTN.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 381. I am your host, Spencer Presley. Joining me for a non-solo episode of the podcast is very special guest. I've got George Yang here. George, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. It's a crazy time in games right now
Oh
where
yeah.
I feel like to say we have an embarrassment of riches is a complete understatement. Of like, I've got Silent Hill giving me mad looks over on
Mhm.
the edge. I haven't even touched like Hades or Silk Song or
Mhm.
anything like that, and I'm just over here being like, Ghost of Yote. I don't even know what that is. I'm over here playing Digimon like it's Call of Duty Black Ops 9 or something. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's a big
absolutely.
it's a big few months in games, A lot of good stuff coming out. You have like the whole EA thing and the Xbox Game Pass price increases. Um, a lot of stuff coming out. Yeah. And as you mentioned, right? Digimon, Ghost of Yote, Hades, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like I can't even think of a fall like this in a while where we've got so many bangers and not only like big releases, like stuff that is selling well, reviewing well, and everyone's really hyped about. And it's just now October. Like we've got Battlefield and stuff coming out and a whole bunch of other things in October, and I'm
Yeah.
like, September alone was enough to like fill up my backlog for the rest of
Right.
the year. So like to think about everything else still coming out is really exciting, but it's just kind of crazy where I'm like, I think like ironically, there are other games I want to play with it, but like Digimon was really one of the last few big ones up there. Like I've been waiting for this. I'm really pumped. I'm gonna get into it day one, no matter what. Because like I love Sucker Punch, but like even me, like I know I'm not even done with Tsushima yet, so I'm like I'm probably
Mhm.
not gonna get to Yote at least until next year at the earliest.
Right.
And then the only one that I'm like, okay, well, all hands drop whatever I'm doing will be for Age of Imprisonment, the next Hyrule Warriors game,
Next month.
which
Yeah.
I always act like is a lot more niche than it is, but then I remind myself, I'm like, I mean, Age of Calamity sold like I think like 3+ million copies, so it's like it's niche by Koei. It's niche by Nintendo standards, the Hyrule Warriors games, but
Yeah.
by Koei Tecmo standards, they're like the biggest games they've ever made.
Right. Right.
But yeah, for people out there who may not be aware of you, who the heck are you? Where should we know you from? Where have we seen you or heard you or witnessed you on the internet? Who is George Yang?
Yeah. Okay. So I am a freelance writer. I've written for a lot of different publications, IGN, GameSpot, uh, Kotaku, Polygon. A lot of your typical games media outlets. I've also written for a bunch of mainstream sites as well, NPR, Variety, Rolling Stone, for gaming content. You can pretty much just kind of Google my name and I'll be there. So that's basically what I do. I cover a lot of the industry through either news, features, interviews, and also reviews.
Yeah, and I reached out to you after seeing your review at IGN for Time Stranger because one of the big things was I really wanted to talk about this game with it being out finally worldwide this week, but I also wanted to try and get someone else out there who had been putting a little bit more time into it. Of like, I know just from like your past work that like you're someone who's got a lot of very similar interests ranging from like stuff like Atlas and other
Mhm.
RPGs out
Yeah.
there to have you on there. And I always see like your name pop up as well because like you do a lot of like I've seen your reviews for like the Falcom games and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
there's just a lot of crossover there.
Right.
And yeah, like I said, we've been drowning in like seriously, it's one of those things where while thankfully Probably not, thankfully, if you're one of those people. I always find it funny. There are people out there who's like, oh, I'm only into Atlas games, or I'm only into this. Very few people like that exist, but it is funny. Of like, in terms of major Atlas news, it's very very quiet. But it's like with Tokyo Game Show, everything else going around, like you said, EA, Xbox, whatever.
Mhm.
Even if we didn't have a million games going on right now, there's so much stuff kind of happening in the industry. It's like such a weird time where it's like unfortunately, like it feels like the only kind of positive thing right now is all the games, and it's just everything else around it in news wise in the world is like, no, everything else kind of sucks besides that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you mentioned it's kind of quiet on the Atlas front right now. I feel like that's been the case for the entire year. I feel like the one thing that they notably released was the Rido remaster, um, which was pretty good actually. I enjoyed it, and despite I actually never played the original one on the PS2, so this was kind of a new experience for me. But from what I've seen and heard and looked up, it's like drastically different.
Yeah, it's been a funny one because yeah, I played the original two Devil Summoner Rido games, and this
Right.
is probably and kind of unfortunately so. It is their most impressive and comprehensive remake they've ever made, and I think sales just really went to show it did not really pick up. Like I don't know if it was just a mixture of like busy time in June, let me tell you, coming out a week before Persona 5X definitely didn't help. That stole a lot of the marketing money and buzz
Yeah.
behind it. So
Yeah.
they weren't doing
Mhm.
themselves any favor in the like publishing side of that game, but like that's one of
Yeah.
those funny ones of like you compare all the work they put into Raito Remastered with like Nocturne HD, and it's like two completely different
Right.
companies. It's like the difference between getting
Yeah. Yep.
like both are totally solid, but it's that thing of like when you see an HD remaster is coming for an old game, and like one is done by Asper Media and the other one's done by Night Dive. Like you know which one's gonna be like
Right.
the oh dang.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. I feel like the marketing for Rido was kind of off as well. I didn't really hear much about it
Yeah, it was
personally,
strange
but
because we've known about it. It's been in development for years. There was even that thing where all the achievements leaked like a year ago, back in
hmm
September,
hmm
but they just held on to it till that like April Nintendo Direct, and then it was like, all right, we're gonna give it like 2 months of marketing, and hope that it does well, and it did not.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope we get a remaster of the second one. That'd be nice.
Yeah, the tricky part is gonna be all of the improvements on the first one all come from the sequel. So a lot of the demons, a
Yeah.
lot of the quality of life features, like the visuals and stuff will help a lot, especially like the higher amount of like 3D backgrounds already there compared to the pre-rendered ones. But the tricky part is, I think in retrospect, I almost bet there's a part of them that kind of wishes they just did a duo pack. But it's
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
and it
agree.
makes me wonder of like, do I think Rhino 2 HD will ever happen? Yes, but I think especially looking at kind of where their bread and butter has been with RPGs just selling a lot stronger than other kind of genres,
hmm
my gut kind of tells me they probably are like, hey, how far along are we, or how quickly could we make Digital Devil Saga come out first? Because my hope is
Yeah.
if we do Digital Devil Saga first, just do both. Because especially that game being a
Mhm.
duology, could you split it up and double your profits? Maybe, but I think a lot more people will be happy to have that complete story.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, kind of speaking about Atlas stuff though, for you, where does your whether it be like Atlas in general, Persona or SMT,
Mhm.
like where did you get started with all those games?
So, okay, so basically, my journey with Atlas started back in 2014, I think. I bought a Vita, a Vita for PlayStation for Persona 4 Golden, because at the time, um, like I still am a really big Tales fan, and so I wanted to play Tales of Hard because I found out that was that was being localized, and it was a Vita exclusive. And so basically, I got my hands on a Vita, and while I was playing Tales of Hearts R, I also wanted to get some other games for it, and everyone recommended Persona 4 Golden, and so that's what I picked up and loved it, honestly. So that was I think my first introduction to like a proper Atlas game. I did dabble in other games beforehand, like Etrian Odyssey. I think it was Etrian Odyssey 5 or 4. Um, yeah, it was on the 3DS, but I didn't get too far into it. Um, I think that's pretty much it. And then I tried going back to Persona 3 Portable on my Vita, but at that point I think Portable was a bit outdated, that it didn't jive with me too well up until they remastered it for all the modern platforms. I gave it a run again, ended up really liking it. Yeah, the female route really does wonders in giving you like a really good second experience with Persona 3. But yeah, that's kind of where it all started for me.
Nice. Well, you've already won me over. Anyone who comes into the show saying they had a Vita or didn't throw it away in the trash, you're already in the
Yeah.
cool kids club. So I appreciate that. Um, so then I gotta ask, especially because you bought it in 2014 and got into it. Are you in the pro or the con camp for Persona 4 Dancing All Night? Was that a life changing experience for you?
Oh, I did play it. I think I got the platinum trophy for it too. I thought it was fine. I didn't really love it or hate it. Again, it was just kind of fine. I think what really helps is that I think Persona 4 Golden has my favorite soundtrack of like the of out of like 3, 4, and 5. So that helped as well. Um, I did appreciate that Persona 4 Dancing at least had a story compared to like 3 and 5 Dancing.
No, 100%.
But yeah, I don't
That's
have.
the funny thing with the dancing games. It's like, yeah, there's nothing easier than taking like the soundtrack to Persona 4 and being like, all
Yeah.
right, this has been out for almost a decade. You've got tons of spin-offs, anime, etc., remixes.
Yeah.
Make a good track list. And like that's basically game development on easy mode versus like you look at
Yeah.
Persona 5 Dancing and like how applauded that soundtrack is. And like when you have that
Yeah.
as your base and your track list still sucks, like that's how you know it's like, man, it was just not going to work out for you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have any strong feelings either way towards the dancing games. They're just kind of there, honestly. And speaking of spin-offs, I'm surprised that Persona 5 didn't get a fighting game spin-off, but
It was supposed to.
I
It
mean,
made it really far into at least pre-development. So like the
okay.
farthest we got
Okay.
with it, and what's funny about it is because there's a lot of stuff like this that came out leaking wise, is right before the big re-reveal. I think it would have been 2015. Yeah, 2015 at the time. There was the final DLC character for Ultimax was going to be Joker. So he was going to be
Ah,
completely worked out. His sprite work was never finished, but they drew him out concept wise, and they had like a headshot for him. And what's really
okay.
funny about it, and this kind of makes sense because there was a really early time in the marketing beat for Persona 5 where Sho Minazuki's head was the base for Joker's head. Like you could overlay them on top of each other,
Mm,
and it's like Sho Minazuki is just a red-haired Joker. Although I guess it'd be flipped. It'd be Joker's just a black dyed hair Sho
right.
Minazuki. So they
Yeah,
were
yeah,
going to do it. I think unfortunately, and it's always weird because Ultimax is such a weird one. Of like the game was great. It reviewed very well. It
yeah.
sold okay, but had a really soft launch in arcades and just never really
Took
warranted,
off.
yeah, getting another full one made. And I think they were looking into what was probably going to be either an easier thing to make internally, because they were trying to not have too many games outsourced for a while. Because after Ultimax, we didn't
Right.
get an outsourced Atlas published game until Strikers, which was many, many years later.
Mhm.
So I know that that team
Right.
wanted to make what happened. The funny thing is now, and there was some hope when they did the remaster, but they really just kind of like did the lowest amount of effort possible when they re-released Ultimax on PC, Switch, and PS4. Of like,
Yeah.
Arcs helped them with it, but it didn't really feel like they put as much TLC into that as they probably should have or could have,
Mhm.
especially because it was like the one of the only 25th anniversary games. But then
Yeah.
you look at where Arc System Works is now, like back then that was them in their niche era still, right before Guilty Gear Xrd, during the Blaze Blue era, where I think if they had the chance again to work on another Atlas game and do another like Persona spinoff, I think everyone would universally agree, like looking at what they've done with Dragon Ball, Guilty Gear, Strive, and now especially with Tokon, it's like they're probably too big for Atlas to pay them now at this point. Like I don't think Sega is gonna commit the money it needs to get another full-time game developed by them, especially because Arx is still working on Guilty Gear. They're still working on Marvel, and I would be shocked if Fighters 2 is not a thing that's happening. Like that Fighters 1 just printed money for years. So it'd be like you look at something like Dragon Ball, Marvel, and their own IP, Persona would kind of be the weird odd child out there.
Mm. Okay, I think that makes sense. But it I think it's weird how you say that that Atlas wouldn't have like enough money to pay for it. I mean, don't they have like a Persona 5 war chest? That's pretty much the like crown jewel.
It's
Like you would think you would think by the amount of money Persona 5 prints, that there'd be like they like Atlas is milking Persona 5, so hard. Like I'm getting tired of it. I want Persona 6 already, but I wouldn't mind a fighting game because I think that makes sense. But yeah, I, I would disagree with you that they don't have the money for it, but
So I think and no, I appreciate the pushback on it because I think my wording could definitely be changed better. They have the money in terms of Sega, like their corporate owner, like the money is there, but like you look at how weirdly selective Sega is where they put their money. Like they have the money for
right.
big games, but clearly when it comes to where money goes for the big stuff, it's whatever the main Persona project is. Like even when something came out like the year we had Reload with Persona 3 and Metaphor, you could
Yeah.
tell the budget for Metaphor was way bigger than even something like a Persona 3 remake versus look at an
Hmm.
RGG game with how quickly they put those out and how big that team is
Yeah.
compared to something like a Sonic. Like both of those series are
Right.
annualized, and even though Sonic makes way more money through merchandising, like the Yakuza games just have way more development time, way more development budget, even though they still have to
Hmm.
crank them out to a point where I would just say at this point, we like I feel like this year is going to be the year if we've had too many Yakuza games. Like we're gonna through the end of the year, we will have had Pirate Yakuza, Director's Cut, Kiwami, Kiwami 2, and you know what? There might be time. They might have another one they're sneaking in there. Like RGG is also putting out like Virtual Fighter 5 for the ninth time. It's like, dude, let them
Yeah.
slow down. I don't know how anyone at that studio ever has time to go see their family.
Yeah. I mean, with the case of like Yakuza, and like a dragon, I mean, most of it is ports, but also like I think Yakuza has the advantage of um, reusing assets more so than most franchises, right? Because you know you can repeatedly use like Kamurocho.
Oh, for sure. And then I think another one with it is like fighting games are in a weird spot right now. Especially, I'm not sure like how big into like the FGC like scene you are with it, especially with like other development ones. I think Evo is going to be in a really weird spot next year versus where they've been the last few years with PlayStation, especially after them being sold off. I think
Hmm.
them splitting up Evo could be one of those sink or swim moments of it's interesting
Right.
we're having more Evos over the next year than we've ever had before because normally it's been Evo Prime and then Evo Japan and now we're splitting it up even more into more venues, but it's also that weird thing of like you look at what Capcom's done. Like have you seen that what they announced recently with the Capcom Pro Tour?
Uh, the only thing I've heard about the Capcom Pro Tour is that like aren't they charging people for that?
$40. It is $40 for the privilege of watching competitive Street Fighter, which no one is enjoying. And it's one of those things where, yeah, the prize pool is still the same, but now instead of Capcom paying $1 million, they're hoping that the viewers will make up $1 million for it. And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
like that's a thing that like maybe back in its heyday could have worked. Like I know stuff like Dota used to do that with the international, but like even Dota doesn't really do that anymore with it. And fighting game numbers were never the same as like competitive PC games like that. So
Hmm.
I think stuff like that is weird. Even from like bigger examples, Mortal Kombat 1 has had like the fastest fall off a NetherRealms game has ever had. Guilty Gear
Yeah.
Strive has had a lot of weird ups and downs in terms of like there was a while where like due to a leak there were things where it looked like Lucy might have been the last character they were going to do, and obviously Guilty Gear is
Yeah.
not like the biggest fighting game IP out there, but in terms of like the
Right.
middle range ones, like it's definitely bigger than like a Melty Blood or like
Hmm.
other
Hmm.
things like that. So fighting games are in a weird spot where they're not a guaranteed success. They definitely take less time to develop than like a big giant AAA RPG. But yeah, I think it's like it's kind of funny because in retrospect, I'm sure people would look back on this and be like, with the money you put into developing Persona 5 Dancing, Persona 5 Tactica, and all these other ports of other games where they'd just be putting Persona 5 on other platforms and things like that, there's a lot of things where it's like some of these make sense and you're definitely making your money back, and then other ones are like, okay, clearly no one made their money back on Soul Hackers 2. No one made their money back on Tactica. Like these games have been in the clearance bin since like 3 months after release. But then you look at other things
Right.
like you mentioned lower effort ports or remasters like Persona 5 remaster ever since it came out on Switch, PS5, Xbox, and PC, that made the series go from like 5 million to like 10 million, which never happens.
Hmm. Right.
So I that's why it's like the thing of like I want it to happen. Like I know there are so many people outside of like you and I who like would love to see another fighting game. It's just hard
Hmm.
because it's like I think what people want is we want what would have been the next evolution after Ultimax, but in the world where we are
Hmm.
with fighting games, it just like it when is the last time a fighting game came out and it felt like everyone universally was like great. It's got good single player content, it's got a large roster, it's got a lot of support coming, and it doesn't feel like they're nickel and diming us. Like you can always be two of the three, but you can never be all three.
Hmm. You think? I mean, what wasn't Tekken well received at launch?
Tekken was well received, but Tekken had a weird thing where Tekken 8 was more limited because it was only on current gen and their numbers weren't so
Oh, right.
it didn't sell as fast as Tekken 7 did because Tekken 7 was a really late PS4 release. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tekken 8 did good, but Tekken 8 had a really fast fall off and like DLC characters just weren't getting bought as much as other ones. So
Hmm.
Tekken 8 was a weird one where it launched well but had really bad support post launch, similar to something like even like Dragon
Hmm.
Ball Sparking Zero or other weird cases where
Yeah,
fighting games can start
yeah.
strong, but it's really rare for them to stay strong. Like staying relevant
Right.
post release is really hard unless you're something like a Smash Brothers or a Street Fighter 6. I would say Street Fighter
Yeah.
6 did really well in that regard of like having a single player, having a big roster and doing a lot of stuff. But Street Fighter 6 is a weird one of like they were coming off one of the worst received launches of history. So like coming from Street Fighter 5 to Street Fighter 6, like you would have had to really try to have a worse launch.
Yeah, I remember the controversy around Street Fighter 5 launch, especially since wasn't it a PS4 console exclusive? Like
It was
I
PS4
know
and
that.
PC only.
Yeah, I kind of vaguely remember, um, you know, PS4 exclusivity, console wise, rubbed people the wrong way. But yeah, I remember the reception to Street Fighter 5 was just not good.
Let me see with it. One of the other ones one of the other things I was going to kind of bring up with so you got in pretty early and at a good time, especially kind of in that pre Persona
Yeah.
5 range. For
Yes.
you,
Hmm.
when or which game would you say have you dipped in? Because I know at the very least you've played SMT5, right?
Yes. 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 I reviewed the original SMT5, and then I also reviewed the Vengeance upgrade.
Okay. And have you dipped your toe into much SMT from any of the older ones outside of 5 or any of the other kind of spin-off ones, whether
Yeah.
it be like Double Survivor?
Yeah. I reviewed SMT the SMT3 Nocturne port. Um, I I have the DS and I think 3DS. What is it Devil Survivor?
Yeah,
Those turn-based games.
yeah, Devil Survivor
Um,
is the one of God,
yeah,
I always forget the name of the artist. I'll look it up in a bit, but it's the
yeah,
same artist who did the Digimon Story games and Durarara.
yeah. I uh I have those games. I bought them a long ass time ago. Um, when I was like collecting 3DS games, I just never got around to them. They're somewhere in my parents' house. Like I have them, but like they're in a backlog. I have no idea when the hell I'm ever gonna get to them. Honestly, if I'm being completely
They
frank.
are
Um,
those games in specifically are always so funny because like they are my favorite of like that era for
okay.
3DS because like I feel like especially on
Mhm.
the 3DS like there were so many big and great Atlas games that came out on there, but it's like
Oh yeah.
it was something about it of like I love SRPGs and I love like what the
Hmm.
original like that both of the Devil Survivor games are so fun. The funny thing about it is like the 3DS because both versions are enhancements of DS games and that was so cheap to
Yeah.
develop for. Like those games are
Yeah.
hilariously long. So it's one of those things of like getting through one would take you like 100 plus hours, let alone getting through both. Like two is
Yeah.
infamously
Yeah.
long. Like it was originally I think like a 60 to 80 hour game on the DS, and then they spent
Hmm.
almost like 5 years just remastering it on the 3DS. So like the
Yeah.
new remaster campaign was like 30 to 50, and it's like guys, you didn't need to go this hard.
Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. And then what else? I never had the chance to play the digital Devil Saga game, so I'm hoping those come remastered in some form. I also never got the chance to play any of the Trauma Center games. I've seen videos of them. They seem really interesting.
Yeah, they're super fun.
So I hope Atlas does something with those.
Yeah, that's a funny one where it's like I feel like you could do a pretty cheap even port of the Wii ones to like Switch or
Yeah.
PC and still have some fun
Mhm.
with that because like that's still such a unique concept. Whereas like it's not really trying to be like one of those like it's not trying to be like ER simulator, but there is a story to those. Like the art is good, the music
Mhm.
is fun. So
Yeah.
those are ones where I always am surprised how much nostalgia I see up there, but it's not something like a Catherine. Like Catherine gets a lot more lip
Yeah.
service than even any of the Trauma Center games, even though there was like five of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And half of them are like ports or enhanced editions.
What was the other one I was going to ask you? I guess since we're kind of on this one, one of the questions I like asking when people come on here for it, if you had to pick,
Sure.
let's say all new games just get wiped from existence, your backlog has magically freed up. If there was one Atlas game that's kind of on the top of your pile of shame you have not touched, what would it be and why?
Oh gosh. Hmm. Violation that I have not touched. Whew. I I think I have the PSP version of I think Persona 2. I bought the UMD um for like collecting purposes, and I've been meaning. Oh wait, no, I have it digitally on my Vita as well. I just never got to it. So yeah, I would like to. I think so. I think it's backwards compatible.
Yeah, so they did
I'd
Innocent
have to
Sin
double check.
physically and digitally as well, which was
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Persona 2 specifically. I know like there's a joke in the community that like Persona It doesn't exist until like Persona 3. But I would one day like to get through Persona 2 if I ever find the time to get through that.
No, yeah, because two's very much like one of those funny things of like I started with one, but it is that thing of like because you don't really need to play one before playing two. Two is just such a
Yeah.
better version of what one started, is that like
Hmm.
it's really hard to like it's really hard to like say anything that you wouldn't like about it. The only bummer with two,
Yeah.
it's got such a giant asterisk next to it because the first remake of Innocent Sin on PSP is amazing, and they never
Hmm.
translated it for Eternal Punishment. So playing it
Right.
legally, the only way to do it is play a really great remake and then play a really janky PS1 version of Eternal Punishment.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah. Oh, speaking of remakes, what do you think of the Persona 4 remake?
Persona 4 Remake is in a really weird spot. I think it's one of those things of because 3 Reload sold way better than anyone thought. Like, obviously, they weren't going to develop it if they thought no one was going to buy it, but I don't think anyone
Mhm.
was expecting it to sell 3 million copies or whatever and stuff like that. It had really good legs. It sold way better than they ever expected, enough to the point where they said, okay, well, we didn't plan on doing any DLC for this, so they did that whole expansion pass. And I think one of the things that people forget about the episode Aegis DLC is that that was developed by a completely separate team because the
Mhm.
P3R team was already working on their next project by the time it got greenlit. So, like, it was
Right.
very much not a planned success. Uh, it kind of goes back to that thing of there's no way to make a bad Persona 4 dancing game where the bones of Persona 4 Golden are so strong that it would take like
Yeah.
a Herculean effort to blow, especially if they hadn't remade 3. Because I was someone who was like, I've always admired 3. I liked what it did for the series. I really liked it, but I never held it in the nostalgia glasses that most people did. Whereas like now, Reload is like my de facto way of like telling people to enjoy it. Like it made me appreciate the game and the story way more than I had in the last like 15
Right.
years. But after seeing all that they had done with that, I'm like, okay, they will crush P4R. The problem is whether it be contractual or who knows why that they revealed it when they did. They revealed it at the worst time possible. It was the worst kept secret possible, and that trailer half of it is good until you get to that shot of you running down the city. Like it would work as a great teaser trailer, and then as soon as they cut to
Mhm.
gameplay, everyone was like, "This looks bad." It's like it was that funny thing of just being like, there was a better trailer there edited somewhere, and it's only because of how far off the game is. Like I don't think the game will take that long to develop because they're definitely gonna like if like speaking of asset reuse, like P4R is gonna have so many assets brought over from P3R, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
But again, comparing it to like you look at the first trailer they announced of P3R versus the one for P4R, the P3R one came out 9 months before the game launched. So everything was locked
Hmm.
in. It visually was very polished, had a lot of good stuff going on for it. Whereas like
Right.
this one had no new music, one character model running around an empty city, and no date, no nothing. The only thing we know about it is where it's coming out for, and that's about
Yeah.
it. And it's like that thing of like, I get it. From like a shareholder perspective, from a big money perspective,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense. I'm sure the game will be great, but I don't ever ask people like, "Oh, what do you think of P4R?" Like it'd be like we might as well say, "Are you excited about Persona 6?" Because like you know as much about Persona 6 as you know about or have seen for Persona 4 Reload.
Hmm. Yeah. I there the trailer is just like here, damn. Here you go. Yeah, so my personal problem with the Persona 4 remake is like does it even need to exist? Because with Persona 3 Reload, you can argue that, before that you had Portable, you had FES, you had the original, Portable didn't have the epilogue, right? FES didn't have the female protagonist. So having a remake of Persona 3 and having Persona 3 Reload arguably, I think was like the biggest justification for it. Even if they didn't include the female protagonist, which I still think is a big mistake that
Oh,
they don't
a
have
hundred
that in
percent.
Reload. Yeah. So, but at least they have the Aegis DLC. With that being said, I mean they already added a bunch of content with I think it was Marie in Persona 4 Golden. I just don't know what else they could add in a Persona 4 remake other than like fucking maybe a cameo battle with Joker and the Persona 5 the Phantom Thieves or whatever. Um and I say this as like I can comfortably say that Persona 4 Golden probably my favorite game of all time. And so I'm really curious to see how they remake this, especially since I personally don't see any justification for this outside of money, really. I'd much rather them just straight up fucking say, hey, we're working on Persona 6, and then just show like a color. It's gonna be green, this time around. I'm like, oh my god. Or like if just how remake one Persona 1 or 2 again. I don't know. Just it just I it just the I just view the Persona 4 remake as like a cynical cash grab kind of thing.
By the way, because there's multiple things I want to touch on for that. We've had green
Sure.
spoiled for us for so long for Persona 6, and they've been in development for so long.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie, it would be masterful trolling if they said, "Fuck it, we're actually not green, we're black, or we're a different color." It would be
One of
so
those like
just to prove everybody wrong. They were like, "Hey, you know what? That green paint can, that wasn't a hint. It was actually nothing. We just threw that there because we thought it'd be a good complementary color. You're all wrong. All your fan art is dumb. It doesn't make any sense. We're doing our own thing." But I totally agree that P4R is the most cash grabby feeling remake announcement possible. Because like there's been a lot of
Mhm.
discussion recently, especially people talking about like and a lot of this I don't agree with, but I'm also very much like I'm a remake and remaster lover. Like I love stuff
Mhm.
like especially this blew up very big in the PS3 era when we started getting those HD collections. Like there are good ways to do remasters and remakes, and there are definitely bad or like lazier ways to do it. And with all
Yeah.
the talk of it, this year has been so funny because I think this year's had way like batting averages of way like better remakes and remasters than we usually ever get. Like when you look at something
Yeah.
even like Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is such a weird game of like it's a complete ground up remake that runs off the bones of the original PS2 game, so it's completely like it completely plays different, but still it still sounds the same. It's a very weird case. Like that's the only one where I put that one in a bit of a weirder camp. But like you look at what we've had
Yeah.
recently with like the Final Fantasy VII remakes, and even like
Mhm.
Persona, or even some of the other weird ones. Like look at all the work that Sega and RGG put into remaking Ishin. Like Ishin could have just been a regular
Mhm.
remaster, but they actually did a lot of work to make that
Yeah.
randomly in
Mhm.
an Unreal Engine 4. So it's kind of funny of like I feel like we have way more good than bad. Going back though to
Mhm.
Persona 4 Revival, one of the ways where I keep saying like it sucks as an announcement, but it won't suck as a game outside of the fact where
Yeah.
obviously the core of that game is great. There's like as long as it's still being developed by the same team or a similar team to the P Studio side, it's that one where
Right.
it's not really going to mess up. And I think people are sleeping on the fact that it's a lot easier to notice. Yes, you announced this before Persona 6, so people are going to get mad and think, oh, well, clearly Persona 6 isn't coming anytime soon, even though that's a totally different team, and that team's
Mhm.
been working on P6 for almost like 5 years at this point now. The funny
Mhm.
thing is, think of all the hype that went into and announcing and leading up to the release and re-reveal of Persona 5, We will have that for Persona 6, but they're a lot more conscientious of
Oh
it, of
yeah.
like they don't want to show that early. They want to show that game as late in the development as possible because they know that game's going to have so much goodwill, of like any game that you can just say from the people who made Persona 5, that's a really good way to print money. Like look at Metaphor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Metaphor couldn't have been
Yeah.
any more different from Persona 5 if it tried, but it still felt like it was from that team because it was.
Hmm.
But now wrap that all into the fact that it's hype for a new game, and we will most likely see more about both P6 and P4R next year, which is also an anniversary year. So even if those games
Right.
don't come out next year, at the very least, we are going to see more of both, and they will be announced
Yeah.
in the anniversary year. Because again, like you had mentioned,
Hmm.
the last thing we want added into Persona 4 Revival is a Joker fight. Like, oh my god, if I ever see Joker DLC again, I will throw myself into the oven. But how cool.
Hey, hey, hey! There's Joker DLC in the new Sonic Racing game.
Oh my god, Joker, by the way, Joker might be the worst character added to that game. Like Joker sticks out like a sore thumb. He looks dumb. Like him not talking is egregious. Like Ichiban's also pretty bad, but Ichiban's already really goofy. Like Joker being in there, I
Yeah.
tried, man, no. I feel like I'm taking like crazy pills when I see how much people are like hyping up. If you love Sonic Racing Crossworlds, good for you. I've played that game for so many hours, and I'm just like, dude, I do not get why people love this game. But the funny thing is, imagine though, either depending on whatever comes out first, when P4R comes out, or either at like a post-release something, that one of the secret boss fights is you get to play the protagonist, you get to play against and fight the protagonist of P6. Like that would be
Oh,
cool.
that would be great. Oh my God. I would love that.
So there's a lot of really easy wins to go for there, especially ranging from the fact of like there is still such positive feelings towards Persona 4 in general, even though it was milked a lot in its like
Yeah.
heyday leading up to the P5 era. We've been away from that for so long. We're like the last time anyone's actually cared about the Persona 4 gang, like in a new entry, not counting like a re-release, was Persona Q2,
Hmm.
and even that was years and years
Mm.
and years ago. So I think that's one of
Yeah.
those ones where the nostalgia hype can come back for it. It being wrapped around an anniversary will help. The only thing though is that like, and I'm sure that this is why they've been so quiet to it, because like we're so close to 2026 at this point, and we know so little about the anniversary next year. The only thing we know about, and I don't even know if this is like literally tied to the anniversary, but I'm sure they will do something there. They're doing that Persona Super Live in America for the first time. They're doing it in January in LA, and I'm super excited about that. By the way, Atlas, we've got like 3 months till January. If you want to announce ticket dates, that'd be really nice. It'd be really nice any time now. But I am sure that there will be something announced there, even if it's like the lightest of teases, even if it's just they're announcing the start of the 30th
Yeah.
anniversary, they will do something there because it's like that's just so on the nose they can't do that, but also because they just did not the worst job ever, but I think it's pretty universally agreed upon. The handling of the 25th anniversary was really bad.
Yeah. The personally the most I got out of that anniversary was the vinyl box set.
That should not have been your highlight. I remember there was because they had. I don't think the website is still up, but was one of my favorite things was when they were showing all the highlights of the 25th anniversary year. There was one section just dedicated to what was the highlight this month? New wallpapers. I'm like, come on, guys, like, what are we doing here?
Oh
So
God, yeah, that's crazy.
this does kind of lead into one of the things I wanted to ask you about. And moving into
Sure.
another topic because we're talking about 30th anniversary plans, and I don't think this will be very exciting. But especially after
Hmm.
looking at a lot of interviews from TGS, I'm surprised I've seen
Hmm.
so few people talk about. Um, you have played Persona 3 Reload on Switch 2 at the preview event. Did you check? Was it the same demo that's on the eShop, or was it a different demo?
Oh, I don't know. I have not checked out the demo yet, but from what I remember of playing playing the Switch port and my time with Sega, it was only in the Tartarus.
So it was the
But
combat
it was
demo.
like
Gotcha.
yeah, combat. Yeah, it was really late. It was really late Tartarus too, I think. Because I remember looking around the dungeon like I think this is like I think this is like the last the very top of the Tartarus, like on the next day or
Oh, like when
whatever.
it's all white and stuff?
I think
Oh,
like
that's weird.
it's like white and black and like trippy and shit.
Yeah, wow, that's really weird. Then no,
And
that must have,
yeah,
honestly, you might have just they
I
might have just
know.
hooked up they may have just hooked up the dev build and were like, "Hey, let's get Bill's save and let them run around Tartarus for a while."
Yeah. Um, I mean, it runs fine from what I played. I think it has the benefit of the doubt, um, because it's a turn-based game primarily. So people aren't gonna really. I don't think people are gonna make that much of a fuss regarding frame rate compared to like the Yakuza Kiwami ports for Switch 2. But yeah, from what I played in my time there, it was fine. Same exact game.
So I'm trying to remember if it was on there for it. I forget for the event. Did they let you play in portable at all, or was it just docked?
Docked. Yeah, it was docked.
Okay, so two important things to note about that. Um,
Yeah.
the demo that's out publicly is just the same demo that's now out on all systems, but it's actually a really good demo to decide if this is for you or not. So I put
Hmm.
about, I want to say maybe 2 to 3 hours into the whole demo because it lets you play from the beginning of the game all the way to the first boss fight in the full, like the first real full moon boss fight, which is a really good chunk of the game, and the save data transfers over.
Oh, nice,
So
nice.
I think that they're clearly learning from when they've had things like with the metaphor demo leading to a lot of good praise of like, hey, this transfers over, everyone can play it a month early, you get a good idea of what the game plays like. The problem is this is like the worst console version of the game,
Hmm.
and it's a large amount of it to the point where I've seen more people walk away from that demo being like technically so underwhelmed that they decided not
Hmm.
to pick it up versus like I still get a lot of comments like my video for it has been very interesting of I went through I probably played like 30 to 40 minutes of it or whatever showing it off because
Right.
after I put a lot of time into it as a port it is super solid. It's 1080p, it runs pretty well,
Hmm.
there's almost no frame dips really at all, but it is still kind of it because it is so kind of technically unimpressive compared to every other port before it. If you have ever seen it on almost any other system, it's like very weird. It's kind of like the Yakuza thing of like why isn't it running better? Like why is it locked to 30? Why don't like or at the very least the funniest thing is it's not that it's strange that it's locked to 30. It's strange that there are no graphical settings. Like we're coming off of
Hmm.
hardware that clearly could have multiple options. And there's some things that we have found out from Atlas that kind of explain why. And what's funny about it is like I think comparing it, if this was Atlas's first Switch 2 game, I might be a little bit more forgiving. Did you mess at all with Raito on Switch 2?
No, I only played the PlayStation version.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people mostly kind of did there, and especially the game keycard stuff did not help that, nor will it help Persona 3 at all. But
Hmm.
the funny thing is, Raito on Switch 2 is fantastic. It is straight up just the PS5 visuals on the go, no compromise. It's 1080p 60 in handheld, so like rock solid, and upscale to 4K 60 on docked play. Looks fantastic, looks really sharp and obviously one's a PS2 game running on Unity versus a PS4, PS5 game running on UE4. But when
Right.
I'm looking at menus and the menus are more like crisp looking on Raito versus Persona 3, especially because Persona 3 with like its bright blue menus and stuff like that, it's really weird how jagged some of it looks. Like even something like the
Right.
character art, like when it's the cell shaded looking like 2D, you can really see the jaggies a lot more, and that was one of the things I kind of leaned into within my preview coverage of like, man, this looks great, but when you've seen it running at a smooth like 4K, going to what was clearly okay, how much can we lower the resolution and how like because I think for Atlas, and they've talked about this as well, their focus on this port was we want it to run steady, we don't want it to be a battery hog, and we want it to be optimized as best for handheld and TV without any graphical settings, which I totally get. Like if you want to play this game for
Right.
multiple hours and not have it kill your Switch 2, which does not have a great battery, they did a good job at making compromises. But the problem is now it's like, but you have a worse looking version because of it, and especially when we have seen stuff like Atlas do graphical settings, it's like, why not just have a higher resolution mode available or have a higher frame rate version available to make people more excited? Because obviously, I agree with you. Not all games need to be 60 FPS, especially like turn-based RPGs.
Mhm.
But it is just kind of a
Yeah.
bummer of like I was excited for this port, and I think there have been enough things behind it for me and for other people to be like, hey, I didn't really need to buy this, but the way they're treating this release is not giving me any reason to feel like I have to rush out and buy it even more so now. Ranging from the fact of
Yeah.
like
Like.
no
Yeah. Yeah.
DLC is the wildest thing possible. Like, there's literally no reason not to include. Like, think about it, because especially like they didn't re-release a physical version with all the DLC on PlayStation or even Xbox. So think of
Yeah. And this would be their chance to do it.
like make this even if you wanted to charge it 60 $70 for it, all the people who would have gladly had an all-in-one edition on a new piece of hardware where it's like, great,
Hmm.
I'm rebuying this game again, but I own it all physically, there's a new box art, blah blah blah, like little things like that that would have gone a long way. So like
Hmm.
we were talking about in the beginning of the show, like all the games that people are hyped for or getting pumped in terms of like wanting to play and how things are getting handled. It's funny of like I keep forgetting Persona comes out this month. I'm like, oh yeah, it is out in like 3 weeks because it's like
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot
we
about
were
that too.
talking about how the hype didn't feel like it was there for Raito. The hype feels in the negative for P3R. It's gonna be like someone's gonna have to like literally stumble across a copy of this game, and be like, oh hey, Persona's there, guys.
Hmm. Yeah, okay, just to go back to your point about how Raito on Switch 2 feels so much more polished. From articles that I've read, from like insiders or people who have knowledge, apparently Nintendo didn't send out like Switch 2 dev kits a third party or whatever or something like that. Um, and I don't know if that's the case. So I feel like wouldn't that kind of hamper Switch 2 development? Because think about Raito. It's like Raito's on Switch 1 and Switch 2, right? So so is it possible that they is it possible that that Atlas was developing the Switch 1 version of Raito, and then with Switch 2 they were able to transfer a lot of their work over to that version to make it run a lot better. Because when you look at Persona 3 Reload, it's just a Switch 2 version.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that leads into one of the things I want to talk about next. Unfortunately, that would be a
Sure.
great excuse if it wasn't for the fact that Atlas and Sega have talked about that they've had dev kits almost as long as anyone. Like Sega and Atlas
Oh.
Japan have had dev kits almost as early. Like if they were not one of the first third parties, they were the first third party to get them. They've had
Mhm.
dev kits for a very long time. Hence why, think about it. The what third party publisher had the most games at the launch of the Switch 2? Sega. We had Raito was ready, Yakuza was there, Sonic X Shadow was there,
Mhm.
Puyo Puyo Tetris was there. They've got so many games
Right.
in
Okay.
an active development. Like that excuse would totally make sense for most developers. Unfortunately, we know that they have the dev kit. So it's like it is that
Got it.
thing
Got
where
it.
it
Okay.
doesn't
Okay.
stand up well that way. But what's funny is that you mentioned the Switch 2 thing because this came out in some interviews where the director and producer of the Switch 2 version for P3R actually confirmed that they were originally working on a port to Switch. The plan was always to bring P3R to Switch. The what ended up happening was by the time they got dev kits ready, dev kits were actually the dev kits were easier to develop for and port the game to natively just because of the specs wise, which makes sense. But what's
Hmm.
funny is they decided, because originally the plan was just Switch. Then the Switch 2 finally got dev kits out. They were like, great, we'll do it on both. And then Switch 2 development was going along so smoothly that they were like, well, if we put it out on both, it wouldn't come out until 2026. So let's just put it out
Hmm.
early only on Switch 2 because it's still new and we can put it out in time for the holiday, which totally makes sense.
Hmm.
But then that leads into something. The Switch 2 version, because initially when I was playing the game, and this was before these interviews were out, I kept playing the game and I was just being like, this is just the PS4 version. Like the specs look just like the
Hmm.
PS4 version, it runs just like the PS4 version. This just feels like a worse PS4 version upscaled to Switch 2, which is obviously more powerful than a base PS4. Now that we know that
Hmm.
the game was in active development to be ported on Switch 1, it makes a lot more sense why it looks so rough and has such a low kind of like it is not trying to push the
Hmm.
Switch specs at all. And that's especially apparent when you
Right.
look at another UE4 port. Like comparing P3R on Switch 2 versus like FF7 remake, it's like it's embarrassing. Like it's like come on guys, like we're
Right.
literally on the same engine. Like what are we doing? So it
Wait,
excuses.
doesn't
Oh yeah.
wait, doesn't a Final Fantasy VII remake apparently it runs really well on Switch too?
No, no, it does. That's what I mean. Like I'm saying, like you look at
Right,
something,
right,
yeah,
right,
like so,
right.
like you're an uglier, worse running version of on a same engine. Obviously, different developers and stuff with it, but it's like technically, like yeah, like Square is not giving them any reason to really say like yeah, like if other UE4 games ran terribly on Switch 2, I would understand it. But like UE4 is not UE5. UE4 has been like we get it. UE4 makes sense to people. Like we know what to expect out of those games. And then the funny thing
Yeah.
is, it excuses, no, not excuses, it makes sense more, though, why the quality of that port seems lacking so much. And the thing that I'm shocked no one's talking about is at no point in any of these interviews has WADA or any of the team at Atlas said, oh, but we canceled the Switch 1 version. So I'm like,
Mm.
in my head, I've just been like, so you guys all know that we're now like put it on the chalkboard for the Persona 30th anniversary. One of those announcements will be that Persona 3 Reload is coming to Switch 1. Because why not? They were already working on it. They've confirmed they're already
Yeah.
working on it. They didn't say they stopped it. They just said, well, we could get the Switch 2 version out quicker. And it's another chance for people to double dip. People know it'll be on there physically, and there's over 150 million Switch 1 owners, so why not put it on there?
Oh, right. They can't use the key card excuse for Switch One.
Exactly. So it's like it's such a win-win, even though it will be the worst version of that game possible. And the only way that like this could be the biggest twist in the heart with the knife is like watch the Switch One version, like running natively on Switch 2 be like the best way to play it. It'll be like, yeah, it's all on the card. It runs great at 60 FPS on Switch 2. It's like it's fantastic.
Oh God.
So that's a funny one where and I wanted to ask you with that because of like for me it just feels like in terms of like money making wise and anniversary wise it's like yeah like why not put it out on Switch 1, no one's going to be mad at you for it, like it obviously took the longest to make happen, but it's like the money
Yeah.
is just going to be there. It's like when EA almost 2 years later, remember when EA last year finally put Jedi Survivor out on PS4 and Xbox One.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, yep, I remember that.
So for you then, what do you think about a Switch 1 version coming out of P3R? Because I think, would that be an announcement people get hyped for? No. But
Mhm.
for me, I'm like, oh, that will sell at least a couple
A
hundred
lot.
thousand copies. Like that's an
Yeah,
easy way to print money.
yeah. Um, I think it's fine. I don't really have a horse in that race to begin with. I mean, as long as people get their games on Switch or Switch 2, doesn't really matter to me. Um, but I think it makes financial sense to put it on one and two. It just weird how how the whole situation is playing out.
I will say, I hope. I hope especially because there's no reason to believe that they won't or can't patch Persona 3
Hmm.
on Switch 2. The tricky thing is Atlas has a really weird history, and a lot of people don't either A, notice this or care. Like, I only know this because I'm a big loser who follows this stuff way too closely. But what's funny with Atlas games is the more successful they are, like the more they sell and the more highly critically praised they will almost never get patches. They will almost never get updates. They will never get long-term support. They're like, well, you loved
Yeah.
it. Thanks, but it's the games that either sell softer or have more complaints that eventually get like weird
Right.
large updates. Like we just saw this with Raito. Raito got a patch last month that was this massive big quality of life change that hey, it's cool, but like no one's going to buy the game just because there's this random patch that came out in September, but it's cool that it
Yeah.
happened. They did the same thing with Soul Hackers 2 and they've done it with a couple other things as well, but they almost never do it with mainline games. And
Hmm.
it's kind of funny where it's like it's a bummer that games need to bomb by their standards to get updates and supports. But like I said, the hype right now feels like at an all-time low for P3R, so it might be one of those things where if it sells as soft as all of Sega's other games have, because Sega has not had a hit on Switch 2. Like all of Sega's games
No.
have been discounted physically and digitally pretty quickly on Switch 2, because of factors of people either aren't interested in 5 minutes of Yakuza Zero cutscenes that they can watch on YouTube, or don't want to pay $40 for the 10th version of Puyo Puyo Tetris. Like, there's they're not really giving a lot of big reasons for people to buy their games on Switch 2. Like, even I think probably their biggest success would have been Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, and that's not coming out till early next year on Switch 2.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how like you mentioned Atlas or Sega, uh they're not putting like patch effort into getting that so well. They're like kind of suffering from success in that way.
No, 100%.
And no, I remember about a decade ago, when before the whole Persona 5 money printing machine. I remember like Atlas specifically they were doing they were publishing third party titles, and I remember the last one they did, or one of the last ones they did was Lost Dimension. Do you
Oh,
remember that game? Did you play
I
it?
fucking love Lost Dimension. Lost Dimension
Yeah,
holds such a special place in my heart,
surprisingly good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
but
I
like
played it on my Vita. It was fun.
because like Lost Dimensions was like such perfect because it was 2015. I remember it was December 2015 when it came out. Like it was the easiest sell to me as a weeb. It's Valkyria Chronicles meets Danganronpa. I'm like, all right, take all my
Yeah.
money. The funniest thing about that, and I think it was such a bummer, was it released late into that year, and it was only on PS3 and Vita at launch, and then only
Yeah.
years later finally came out on PC. Because I remember a old friend of mine actually worked on the PC port at Ghostlight, and it was a really good port, but it was like, man, that game, if that was one of those ones where either had waited for a PS4 release or even just got a remaster now. Like I think that's such a cool, fun concept for a game that would sell way better now than back during the old Atlas USA days. Because like I loved when Atlas would publish all those games, like especially when they were doing like Utawai Ramono, or even just publishing
Yes. Yes.
like
Mhm.
all those other games out there. Like they were and there's still companies out there like Marvelous, like Xseed, like NIS, and even Koei Tecmo
Yeah.
to a lesser
Mhm.
extent, who publish
Yeah.
smaller
Yeah.
games like that, but they were always the best at it. Like they always picked the best
Oh,
games.
definitely.
All right, sorry. Usually picked the best games. I will never forget RIPD the game. That is probably Atlas's most memed on weird ass game they ever did. But listen, it's the company who had the cojones to publish Demon Souls before Demon Souls was cool. Like they had such an eye for publishing great third-party games in English markets, and the bummer is
Mhm.
the only reason that stopped is because Sega bought them.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But another thing I wanted to kind of ask with you from your experience playing it, especially 'cause, and it's a bummer and I get why Switch 2 preview events are just so funny. Of like, it always feels like they have to have it like in a mode. Like I feel like the best way to preview a Switch 2 game is just either you're alone by yourself or you have like a room where you can check it out on TV, check it out on a desk,
Hmm.
and then check it out like sitting down portably. Like give you all the ways,
Yeah.
because like I feel like one of the reasons like Metroid Prime 4 has been so terrible to preview is like they only want you to check it out in mouse mode, or they only want you to play it in portable. Like they don't really give you a lot of time to experiment around and do stuff with it. And
Yeah, they want to have like a controlled environment.
yeah, which for a preview makes 100% sense. It's just what's strange about it, especially because that event you went to, and obviously there weren't that many. Like the focus of that event was definitely Yakuza. It was not P3R, but it's like they had a couple
Oh
other
yeah.
Sega things going on there. It's like the problem is they put that demo out a month before your preview event. So it's like you probably could have gotten a
Mhm.
better preview out of playing that demo than going to that event, which then lets people be
Yeah.
like, okay, so why are you trying to preview, like who's gonna play this 5 minutes in Tartarus and be like, oh my god, guys, we gotta write up an article about this.
Yep. Yeah, my editor was like, "Hey, I want like I kind of want like uh, a um a write up of like the Switch 2 ports. Can you do that?" I'm like, "Sure, I guess." And then I went to the event and I was just and then the ports were kind of like whatever. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna make a story out of this. And then they show us Kiwami 3 and Dark Tide. I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm writing
Oh my
about.
god, by the way, i don't
So,
i don't
yeah,
know if you touched it. Did you put hands on 2 Point Museum at all?
very briefly.
Okay, did you know what the cardinal sin was of that event?
Mm, no.
And if I ever ask myself, Spencer, why do you not get codes anymore? Why do you not get invited to events like this anymore? Because I would have just caused such a ruckus. When I heard about this, it shook me to my core. 2 Point Museum is finally coming out this fall on Switch 2. 2 Point
Hmm.
series is very heavy, very PC based, but there are console ports. Switch 2 version,
Yeah.
no mouse mode and no plans for a mouse mode. I would have been, what are we doing here then? Why are you bringing
Oh,
like
that's confusing.
it was the wildest thing. A buddy of mine went and he was like, "Yeah, I played it. It looked bad. It ran bad." And I thought, well, at least I could use mouse mode. And the guy said, "No, there's no mouse mode." It's like, what are you doing this port for?
Yeah, that's confusing. You would think that they would take advantage of that. Like, see, it's these like small baffling ways that like for some reason I feel like this is just like it just like financial based, right? Like, oh, we don't have enough time and money to add this in. I feel like that's the only reason, or at least the main reason why some of these like really baffling omissions happen, right? Like right, like no math mode for Two Point Museum, um, like this whole key card debacle. I don't know how the whole key card thing is perceived outside of gaming communities, but like including myself and everyone and at least a lot of people I know, we all hate key cards, right? Yeah, fuck key card, dude. um, it makes the box art look ugly. Okay, um, it's not like a real physical edition. It's just kind of annoying. And like think of like Cyberpunk 2077 on Switch 2. Okay, it's all on cart, and everyone is saying that it runs really, really well.
Yeah,
And it's
I'm
like,
willing to bet there are so many publishers and developers who fucking hate that Cyberpunk is like exists on Switch 2, because it's that thing of looks great, runs great, multiple graphic settings, and it had a full physical release on cart day one, ready for launch. And then it's just like it just makes everyone's case examples look bad for it. So it's just that thing of like, I
yeah,
think because there are a couple other ones, like shout out to Marvelous. Marvelous does a really good job of making sure their games are physical when they're able to. Like they did
yes,
Story of Seasons, the Daemon X Machina sequel, and they have a couple other ones planned. The one that boggles my mind more than Sega, like Sega. I wish I was. I'm not mad, Sega. I'm just disappointed, and I'm not even surprised because it's that thing of like, of course they would. Like, if they're the kind of
Yeah,
people who like are going to do that, I'm like, sure. Am I? Do I wish you would change your mind? Like, this is the company who would rather let Limited Run sell Persona 3 and 4 physically than make all that money on their own.
yeah.
They're like, okay, we could make $350,000 on these games if we released them physically. Or we can just
We could split
let
our
this,
profits
or yeah,
for
literally,
some
or we
reason.
can let this company do it and get 70% of that profit for free. I'm like, all right. And they're like, because think about it, every time a Sega game gets announced through Limited Run, no one has ever been like, yay, I love only getting Shinobi through Limited Run. Thanks, Sega, you're the best publisher ever. Like, it's to the point, like, when they announced all those Yakuza ports coming out, everyone was shocked. That they're not through limited run, because like limited run had been doing so much Sega stuff recently that we now have to be
Yeah.
happy that Sega's releasing their own games, which like that's how sad it's gotten with
Mhm.
them.
Right. Yep.
But like the other case, like the one that like the ones that hurt more are like NIS. NIS is so weird with game key cards. Like there was that comment they did a couple months ago where I think it was Gamatsu or it was either Gamatsu or like RPG Gamer where like someone reached out to them for comment because one of the first ones that got announced was Trails, the new Trails coming out next year.
The Trails Beyond Horizon.
Yeah,
I think that was RPG site
yes, no, RPG
or
site sounds right. But then, like, the fact that they commented at all was surprising, and how bad that comment was like, oh man. And, like, they're doing it with everything. There's no NIS game that's not a game key card. And it's like, if you notice it, because they sell their own games on their website, every Switch 2 game our NIS has put out or is planning on putting out is over 90% in stock. None of their consumers want it. And it's that thing where it's like that speaks really louder than anything. But what sucks about it,
Mhm.
especially like for me being like a big fan, like I would love to be excited for and buy Ease 10 on Switch 2 and check out all that new content. But I'm like, listen, Ease 10 literally just came out for us less than a year ago. I'm not excited to
Yeah,
rebuy it
yeah.
at full price and not even have it fully on the cartridge. Like, what are we doing here?
Yep. Oh, the proud Nordics thing, right?
Yes, yeah, that one I think comes out
Yeah.
like early next year. It's after Trails Horizon, but it's just like it's such a bummer because I think NIS still publishes so many great games, like whether it be Falcom or not. Like I'm excited for it, but it's like the route that they've been taking recently is just so weird. Where it's especially funny because like we know since they're a publicly traded company in Japan, like NIS in Nippon Ichi Software in general has not been doing well financially. So you think that it would be the smarter thing to do would be to listen to the consumers who are not buying their games and be like, okay, we will make them physically, and they're just double down, double down, double down.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of Yeast 10, there's no definitive release date, right? Because apparently to the website it's early 2026.
Yes, I think something may have leaked through a retailer, but yeah, we don't know definitive yet. But the only bummer with it is like it's still coming out so late. But the only thing about it is like it's still gonna only be Switch 2 and PC. Because I was like, I feel like you could at least have tried to make a win and maybe also put it on PlayStation, but nope, I guess not.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of the whole Tokyo Xanadu thing
Oh
back
yeah,
then. It was like it was on Vita, and then the PS4 enhanced version was announced, and that kind of like was and that kind of messed up like the localization schedule or whatever. It's like why would you have both? You know, it's kind of weird.
yeah. The Tokyo Xanadu thing was very weird, but I mean, I will say because that was Xseed who handled that one. I think they.
Access games,
No, you're
right?
right. You're right. Because that was one of those rare ones. Because
It was
God
Access.
forbid Falcom stick with one publisher in the West. That was Access Games. But the thing that I will give
Yep.
credit to Access Games, they were very transparent of when they announced one, they announced the other, and they clearly explained, hey, this version has this. But if you're someone who wants both, they had two very different collector's editions. They made it very clear that like this is going to have this, the other one's going to have that, and these do not transfer over. So like I think they handled it the best they could because of how it was sort of put out in terms of
Hmm.
announcement. Whereas like yeah, the whole thing that happened with East 10, I just feel like man, whether it have been a translation timeline thing or something, like I don't know, someone shot someone in the foot there, and that really stinks because I feel like because like literally we found out that there was a new version of East 10 coming out less than 3 months after it had dropped in the West, and it's like what do we do? Like what are we doing
Yep.
here?
Yep.
Like the only
That it's annoying. Yeah.
the only one that's like stands out as a weird one. Speaking of Falcom publishers popping around all over the place, is like I still cannot believe that somehow we finally got and a good translation no less, but like I still can't believe they actually nailed it for first chapter remake of like that
Hmm.
worldwide release, multiple systems, not only multiple systems, the game running well, being reviewed well, and it's that one of just being like, and they even like randomly a couple weeks before it coming out dropping a Switch 2 version was just like
Yep.
that was like the most W's I've ever seen Falcom do back to back of like wow you didn't blow it this time, good job, did it as well
Yep.
of a release as you possibly could.
Yep. Oh, and speaking of first chapter remake, okay, from like a journalist and press side of things, the rollout was very, very weird
Oh yeah, the here's a code,
because
no embargo, best of luck everybody.
yeah, yes, because okay, so in my experience, reviewing Trails games, NIS America is really good at giving you the code like at least a month ahead
Very yeah, they're
of
super
game coming out.
conscientious of
Like,
how long those
yeah,
games are.
yeah. So I remember I got Daybreak 1 and 2 like a month early, so that was great. And so basically when like myself and like a few other reviewers, we were talking about like, it was like 2 weeks before the game came out, and we were like, "Hey, has anyone like heard about first chapter remake codes going out? Like, what's going on here?" And it's different because it's being handled by a different publisher, Gung Ho, right? So we knew like we knew that there was like maybe some differences in how they handle codes or whatever. But I mean, 2 weeks, it's coming down the wire, and first chapter remake is a long ass game, and so we were just all confused, and then and then like it was coming down the wire for like a week ahead of the game's release. They're like, no one has heard anything yet, and then literally all of a sudden, I get an email from them like, hey, here's your first chapter remake code, and there's like this was like a week and a half before the game released. And then I was reading the email, it's like, hey, yeah, and they're like, there's no embargo, so post whatever, whenever. I'm just like, wait, seriously? Because that like never happens unless you get like the code, the copy of the game on launch day. Um, so that whole rollout was very strange, and from that point on, it was just like a race to the bottom to see who can finish it first, and then put out a review first to like gather all of that website traffic.
All 10 clicks of the Falcom fans. Like
Yes.
I get it of like from a covering it perspective, especially for like journalists. That was so weird, but like I almost kind of like I half get it and I half was surprised. I got it in the sense of Gung Ho is a really small publisher. Like the only
Yeah.
other game that they had done this year, or the only other game they have planned for the rest of this year, is like the Lunar remaster, and that one had
Yes.
a
And
very
those are really good. Those are good.
Oh yeah,
Those
but
are
like
good.
that had another very similar rollout of like the way people
Yeah.
got review codes, at least in the circles that I'm aware of, was, oh hey Jim's reviewing Lunar, or Tom's got Trails. Oh how'd he get it? Oh you got to email him. They have it now. Okay, like it wasn't like all right here we're gonna get everyone's interest. We're gonna see who wants a code. We're gonna give them the code, and then we're gonna tell them when they can review it. Like it was really just like, all right, codes are in, cool. Whoever asks gets first dibs.
Yeah, I think that's a yeah, I think that's kind of the downside of being a smaller publisher.
And I mean, like stuff like that, I definitely kind of get it. And I mean, I give Gung Ho at least a lot of credit of like how well this was handled, in the grand scheme
Yeah.
of things, especially like kind of given their record. Like they've had chances for things to be messier than it was. Like I remember how unsurprised. Like, I don't know why they chose to do this, but I mean, they at least stuck to their words with it. Remember like how they handled the physical version of the Lunar remaster?
Yeah, the demand really outweighed
Well, I mean, yeah, the
the
demand
profit.
was there, but it was so funny. Of like only in America, Europe it was a normal pre-order, but only in America it was only sold through Amazon. But they
Amazon.
wouldn't put it on
Yeah.
sale until release day. They were like, "It'll be fine.
Like,
You guys aren't gonna buy that many copies. I'm sure like 5,000. We'll be good. Don't worry. Don't worry about it." So
yeah, and then the whole thing exploded.
yeah, but I mean, at least they made copies accessible. They've still been reprinting them, and they're doing stuff like that. That's been nice. And they're doing the same thing with Trails. The only other like weird one with it has just sort of been like an interesting mix of. I think the weird thing, and this is one I haven't had a time to like really voice with it. It's still a little bit early, but I think it's kind of safe to say I unfortunately feel like no, even though like we talked about how well First Chapter Remake was done in terms of like came out, released worldwide, everything like that,
Mhm.
unless like something comes out of like left field, I feel like it must have sold pretty softly. Like it's one of those weird ones where
Yeah,
it released like and no one was going to know until it was like already there that like it was sandwiched right between even if it was just these two, but it definitely wasn't. But like even just being sandwiched between Silksong and Hades was going to be rough. But like you had
yeah,
Borderlands, you had even like all the other stuff like Chronos and Silent Hill coming out. There was a lot
mhm,
of big Western and Eastern games coming out that
yep,
there was just no way that they were going to compete with it there. The only saving grace with it is it's reviewed so well. I bet it will have really
yeah,
good legs, but I bet you it's sold
mhm,
pretty soft.
yeah, yep.
But hey, speaking of things that we know have sold very well, because apparently finding a physical copy is impossible in Asia, we could finally talk about Digimon like 2 hours later into this podcast.
Yeah, yeah. I heard the PC version's selling really well.
You know what? I'm gonna check it actually because every day I've been getting a notification that's like, because at launch day I think it was like 50K. Saturday was 60, and I think it's
Like
already broke
70 or
70.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, Digimon Time Stranger came out. Speaking of worldwide releases, for context out there, for and the few people who do not know about this, this is another game if at any point in this podcast you think to yourself, hey, this sounds interesting, or hey, I've missed having a traditional monster or SMT like collecting RPG this year, I've got great news for you. This game's out and it doesn't suck, and there's a giant demo for you to play. So I always find it funny when I'll tell people about this game and like, I don't. I mean, I'm interested in it, but I don't know if I want to pay $70 for a Digimon game right now. And I'm like, great, you can play the first like 5 hours for free. Just go do that. But you have played much, much more of this game than I have.
Oh yeah.
I hours wise is weird because the demo actually ended up being longer than I thought. I ended up like streaming the whole thing. It was very funny. Of like, normally for prologue demos, I try to play a little bit, and then by the time the game comes
Mhm.
out, I'm like, okay, I'll just start over fresh and go from there. But the demo was
Yeah.
so long, it goes all the way up until after the big explosion, and then
Mhm.
the time strangery stuff gets started, and then it stops you immediately. And then
Yeah.
that section was so long, and I was like, honestly, it's all still fresh in my head. I might as well just keep going just so I can try and make as much progress. So I think I'm just about to where I will get thrown into the digital world, but I have not gone there yet. But
Mhm.
because I think I'm like 5 or 6 hours in. I got
Yeah.
access to it on Friday, so my time with it has been super limited. But for you, how long did it take for you to beat the game for your review?
Uh, 31 or 32 hours.
Okay, and just for context with it, had you played any of the other story games, whether it be the MediaVision ones or any other like past Digimon games for comparison?
Yes. So I did get the platinum trophy for Cyber Sleuth back in the day. I also beat Hacker's Memory. Uh, Never found the time to go back to get that platinum trophy. But yeah, I have played the previous story games.
By the way, did you play PS4 or Vita for Cyber Sleuth?
Vita.
So you know the weird thing about Cyber Sleuth in the West, and like to this day, I've never found out why. Only the
Mhm.
PlayStation version, and only in the West on PS4 and Vita, it was delisted. It's the only platform where it was delisted and then never put back up for sale.
Really?
Yeah, you can't download it. Well, you cannot buy it again and download it. You could still go to the PlayStation Store and re-download it, but everything got delisted. I think before Hacker's Memory came out. It was either before Hacker's Memory came out or shortly after, which was kind of funny because
Well,
it
I had no idea.
yeah, because it's like Bandai still owns the rights to all of that stuff. There's nothing like licensed that they would have to renew with it. So it's very weird that that ever happened, especially because they are still selling it like both versions on every other platform out there. So that is a very rare version to have on there, at least for the English one. That's why I was glad copies aren't that expensive, but I have probably one of my earliest imports I did on my PlayStation Vita was in Malaysia and Singapore. They did Asian copies of both story games for
Oh,
the
the
Vita.
physical version,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, I think I have one. I bought it a while ago. But I played it digitally, and then I have the Asian English copy just sitting on my shelf.
but yes, for anyone out there who is not aware, one of the things that I always think is funny about the Digimon story games is like they are popular, but it's been so long since Hacker's Memory, especially. Like, I think people kind of forget that
Mhm.
they were really good games for the time. Like, so Cyber Sleuth 1 was originally like a Vita exclusive, which, by the way, makes me feel so old that that was 10 years ago. I cannot believe that Cyber Sleuth 1
Yep.
is already. And then Hacker's Memory came out on PS4 and Vita, I think 3 years later, like 2018. MediaVision did both, and if you guys don't know MediaVision's, they are. Oh my god! I just pulled up the Steam DB. They're just shy under 85,000. That's insane, and that's for
Nice.
concurrence.
Okay.
MediaVision does some of like at least for me my favorite like I don't know how to describe it. Like where would you put like the Wild Guns out there? Like they're most well known for doing like the Wild Gun series back in the day, but they do a bunch of stuff. Like they worked on the like Valkyria 4 remaster in Azure. They did the
Mhm.
the Chaos Ring trilogy. If it's like a low low budget high effort, I think that's what I call it. MediaVision does really good low budget high effort RPGs. Like they're not like Square Enix, they're not Falcom, they're not Trails, they're not even Tales of,
Mhm.
but like they definitely feel like a lot of work goes into them, even though they may not be like
Yeah.
triple or quadruple A.
Sure.
And the crazy thing with this game is I think it got announced at. I know it was announced at a state of play. I want to say it was either a state of play last year or like the earliest state of play this year.
February this year, I
Okay.
think.
So the funny thing about that is, if you were not paying attention to like Digimon Day or Digimon interviews, most people probably wouldn't know this game's been in development for like ever. So this game,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah, this game was teased, and we knew about this like
Like
alongside.
2018, 2019.
Yeah,
Like I think it was like pre-COVID, dude.
it was I knew it was pre-COVID because what was funny about it was we kept getting the thing why we didn't think about it as much is because Digimon Survived also kept getting delayed into hell. So it was like because Digimon Survived took so long to come out, no one really asked them. So wait, where's the new Digimon story game? Because what's funny is like if you look at MediaVision's like games that they've worked on, they have like almost like an
Hmm.
8 year gap in their resume, and it's like after Valkyria, I think I want to say Valkyria Chronicles 4 was like their last bigger game in like 2019. So like 6-ish years
Hmm.
without anything. Uh, the only other games they've worked on since then was they helped develop the I always forget the full name, but the 100 Line Defense Academy game. They worked on that a little bit.
Oh, Amazing,
Yes.
absolutely amazing. Everyone should play that.
Uh,
Phenomenal game.
I'm sure I would love it. I love that team. I love Tokyo Games. My only problem, it came out at an absolute terrible timing. I picked
Yeah.
Expedition 33, and also
Yep.
realistically, I know why they didn't do it. But it's like the same thing happened with the Rain Code. Guys, you should have just put it on PlayStation. There are so many people who want to play that game
Yeah,
on
they're weird.
PlayStation.
Yeah.
But
I
no,
don't know.
I agree.
I think it'll be a late port. It'll be a late port.
For sure. It's only more embarrassing because it is published by Aniplex, who is owned by Sony.
Oh, that's weird.
But so they worked on that in like a contract way with Tokyo Games, but MediaVisions has been primarily for at least like 6 to 8 years been working on Story Time Stranger, and what's been so funny about it was like had a pretty short hype cycle. State of Play was not where I would have guessed this was announced because I think a lot of people by the time that we were getting ready for this game to come out, I think a lot of people probably thought, "Oh, I bet this is coming to Switch." Like this seemed very much, especially after the last couple years, we're like, "Oh, well, clearly this will be multi-platform, and clearly I bet this will be like a Switch One game." Which then, ha, surprise, surprise, uh, I don't know, like
Nope.
I'd be curious how you feel about it. I feel like Bandai Namco, whether they play into this or not, I think it kind of worked out perfectly. It's coming out a couple of weeks before Pokemon, a brand new Pokemon game. It's not on any Nintendo system, but ironically, it's kind of the thing of okay, well, whether you are excited for Pokemon, you need like another system to play on it for, but it's like Pokemon ZA does not play like a traditional turn-based RPG and does not have a lot of those
Mhm.
kind of traditional monster collecting mechanics that people like for it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I've recommended this game to a lot of people who are like, hey, if you're wanting something more traditional, Digimon Story actually is a better recommendation than ZA
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah. Definitely.
So for you, especially since you've played so much of the Cyber Sleuth duology as well,
Mhm.
were you ahead of playing this? Like, where were you at, kind of hype wise? Like, were you like really pumped for it? Because like I always felt like I had to explain to people that I was being serious because I was like, no, 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 like I'm hyped for this game. This was legitimately like one of my most anticipated games of the year because I'm like, I love this team. I love like the work, everything they've shown for it looks really, really solid. I was pumped for a next gen, or I guess at this point, current gen Digimon game, a real big budget Digimon game, finally coming
Mhm.
out and not actually just getting completely ignored in the West.
Yeah. Um, I was really excited. After playing Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, I was like, it's been such a long time since we had a really, I think it's like a decent budget Digimon game. I played Digimon Survive. I reviewed it. Kind of came away with it kind of unimpressed. So when I saw Time Stranger, I was like, I am ready for this, man. Like and it had like the traditional turn-based battles. I was like, I was hoping that like I could say, when I played it, like we are so back, and I can say it, we are so back, dude. Like Digimon Story Time Stranger is really good. And I was really pleasantly surprised because my first few hours into the game, I was like, this is okay. The story is pretty slow to start. But once you kind of get into maybe the back half of it, it like really ramps up, and I like that about the game. So overall, came out of it impressed, really enjoyed it, and I think this is probably the kind of the best reception. Um, it could have the franchise as a whole could receive, after the releases of Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory.
Yeah, and it's really funny because it's like I'm glad it's its own thing. Obviously, there are a lot of characters and even like connections still
Mhm.
from the past Cyber Sleuth games that are there, but it's like
Yeah,
it's nice that it's a clean start. It doesn't have any baggage of the other games for it, but it's like it's kind of the perfect pickup point whether this is your
yeah,
first thing because like that's the funny thing with like some Digimon games you do not need any previous experience with versus others. Whereas like I don't think if you just throw a random person into Digimon World, they're gonna really like click with it right away. Like I think Digimon World is great for someone who's aware of that world. Whereas like the
Yeah.
story games do a really good job because they're a little bit more kind of based in reality and have that kind of
Mhm.
like, hey, we are in Tokyo, we are doing this, we're jumping in between the digital world and stuff like that, where it sort of fits that mold of monster collecting RPG, but with an obvious, more mature tone. Like the tone of the
Right.
Cyber Sleuth games and even Time Stranger does not they do not feel like baby's first RPG at all.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, with this being an SMT podcast with it, the, Time Stranger does not do anything to dissuade. Boy, this is just them being like, "Hey, Atlas won't let us make a Shin Megami Tensei game, so we are just making our own." And damn, yeah, they keep
Mhm.
rolling with that.
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
it's really funny because like again, even with my time, I don't have a lot of major kind of like complaints with it, but it has been funny of like it's reviewed better than I thought. I forget where it's at for Open and Metacritic right now, but I think it's still in like the 80s or whatever. But it reviewed pretty
So
well.
last time I checked Metacritic, the last time I checked Metacritic, it actually dipped below 80.
All right, I'm gonna hold it up for OpenCritic. I'm gonna check OpenCritic and see if they'll save my day now. Let's see. Digimon OpenCritic is at 80 exactly. OpenCritic, I still like you just a little bit more just today then. But
Yeah. Yeah. Metacritic is at 78.
I'll allow it. That's all right. So what's kind of more surprising though than the fact of it reviewing well and people enjoying it and other things like that, because I think also when the demo came out that helped a lot. That was coming out during that weird TGS week of like it felt like every day a new demo was coming out. Trails had a demo coming out, Digimon had a demo, like all the stuff from games like that time from Gamescom all the way to TGS. It felt like so many big and small games are just dropping demos like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's been nice to see it well received, but been more surprising that it's actually kind of led to it being a commercial success. And that's like one of the ones I wanted to ask you about of like what do you think it is that's leading to this doing so well? Like obviously it's selling well from what we've seen in the West with like just the Steam charts alone, but like right now on the PlayStation Store for North America, it's like the sixth best selling game right now. Like next to FIFA, NBA. Like that's wild to me. Like I was surprised when I saw how well
Yeah.
like Silent Hill F was doing, but like even compared to Silent Hill, Digimon is no like mainstream thing, especially here in the West.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like the good word of mouth is doing it a lot of favors. I can't really pinpoint why it's doing really so well. Cause like, when it comes to game releases, there's there's only so much that you can control, right? Um, you can't the only thing that you can kind of control is like, is like how good the game is by itself, right? That's like the only constant you have, and as long as you have a good game, hopefully everything follows.
Well, I think
Does that make sense?
no, it totally makes sense. But the other thing is like hopefully there has never been more important than this year. Because remember, like we were talking about games with
Yeah,
softer sales. Like look at how like
yeah,
Hell Is Us clearly suffered from coming out the same day as Silk Song. But then you look at something
yeah,
like
yeah.
this, where Ghost of Yotei came out literally the day before Digimon. It came out on Thursday,
Before,
and then I was like,
yeah,
man, will anyone care about Digimon in a week where Ghost of Yotei comes out? And like
yeah,
I just refreshed it now. Ghost of Yotei obviously is in the number one spot, being a PlayStation exclusive, but
yeah.
like just on PlayStation, it's above Borderlands 4 and is in it's at fifth place, like right next to Madden, which is insane.
Hmm. I think Ghost of Yotei and Digimon fans don't necessarily overlap.
You're
Um,
looking at it. I'm the only
so
one. I'm the only one that overlaps of the two.
I also reviewed Ghost of Yotei, loved it. Um, but yeah, like I don't think those two audiences necessarily overlap. So I feel like that's part of it as well. And um and I don't know if it's just me, but like I've seen a lot of discussions um about like Digimon about like Time Stranger versus like ZA, a Pokemon ZA, and like how shitty ZA looks
Oh my
compared to
god, dude!
Pokemon.
I know. Like even Pokemon had a bit of a saving grace when they announced that a Switch 2 version was coming. Because like I think people
Mhm.
forget that ZA is still coming to Switch 1, and note that they have never shown that
Yeah.
game since they announced the Switch 2 version. So like I am
Hmm.
just I'm rubbing my little goblin hands together. I'm waiting for that Digital Foundry video. I want to see someone show me that Switch 1 version, and I just want to see that frame rate just take a like a Hindenburg like
Yeah.
dive. That thing's gonna. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's like
Yep.
I have no hopes that that game will run well on Switch One. But it is funny. It's like I, as someone like I'm a weird Pokemon fan of like I'm not a ride or die for the series. I came back big time with Legends. I really liked how weird Legends was. I think Scarlet and Violet, for all of its problems, is still a good game at its core, but it has a lot of warts. Whereas like ZA is in a
Hmm.
weird spot to kind of maybe be the best of both worlds there, but it's doing so much different and still kind of looks a little switchy at the same time that like it's
Hmm.
funny that you compare Time Stranger to Pokemon and it's like, dude, Pokemon looks like it has Time Stranger's budget when you know the opposite is definitely not true.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
it,
And it's strange because because like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, they run like ass on Switch One, but they run so much better on Switch Two, apparently.
yes.
And I feel like I'm hoping that's the case with Legends ZA. You know, the Switch Two version actually looks good, and runs well, because God, they Pokemon and Nintendo have like unlimited money. Okay, I don't know what the excuse of Pokemon not looking or running better. It's kind of insane to me.
It's it's tough, I think, especially because ZA is going to be in a weird spot where I think all of it's similar to like when we talked about Persona 3 Reload earlier. ZA first and foremost clearly was always meant to be a Switch 1 game that happens
Hmm.
to be a Switch 2 release as well. So it's like
Right.
like we won't really know what Pokemon cuz like I'll say right now cuz it's still using the same engine that they've been using since Sword and Shield, which is wild in the sense where it's like,
Yo.
okay, if if when we get the next mainline Pokemon, whenever the next generation is, if they are still using this engine, that's on them. Like that will be the catalyst that just shows okay, they really don't care. Cuz it's like it makes sense for them not to try anything that drastic in terms of graphics and stuff, which is why I think ZA is such a different beast in terms of how it plays. Like the fact that ZA plays more like a MMO or like a Xenoblade is so interesting in the sense where I'm like, I can't wait to see what like casual Pokemon fans think of it. Like, I think gameplay wise, ZA looks great, but it's like it's clearly not trying to market itself like a traditional, hey, catch 'em all. Like, it seems very narrative
Yeah.
focused. It seems very competitive focused. Like, it seems like it's doing a lot of gameplay stuff and a lot of story stuff. When Pokemon's main appeal is bring a lot of new monsters on and make a large area to
Mhm.
explore. Whereas like nope, you're in one setting for
Yeah.
the whole game and it's about weird like action battles.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that translates to like what the next mainline Pokemon will be. So.
Yeah, that's a good point too cuz like it wouldn't be cuz I've always taken the announcement of Pokemon Champions to be like, okay, clearly normal traditional competitive Pokemon will live on through Champions, and I
Mhm.
bet assuming it's not like completely reviled, I bet you that they are trying to make ZA as kind of a base for what the future of Pokemon can be.
Right.
But going
I can see that.
yeah, but going back to Digimon, it is that funny thing of I haven't gotten a chance to put my hands on Pokemon, but like through watching previews and stuff for it, and especially now kind of looking at the game, do I expect Digimon's success to affect Pokemon? Not even 1%. No. I think it is
Yeah,
just
no.
it is to if it had to affect anyone, I think it just makes Digimon look better. It is funny of like it is literally the better looking game. It will probably be the better running game and kind of scratch that itch for more people out there. The funny thing is as
Mhm.
well with it is what I'm so curious about the game is what the future is going to look like for Time Stranger because we know nothing about it, but I'm like I already bought in, like I bought the season pass edition and everything with it. Whereas like to my knowledge, I don't think MediaVision has ever done DLC for any other games, let alone a major story expansion. So I'm like, I'm curious to see what they do with that. And obviously, without kind of getting into spoilers, like, do you feel like where the story sort of ends off? Like, are you optimistic for what major story DLC would be for it, or like, what do you kind of think about the future?
For Time Stranger?
Yeah.
Story DLC. I feel like the story wraps up pretty nicely. Hmm. Did the did the previous story games get DLC? I can't remember. Like,
Digimon literally, I don't think has ever had any DLC that's not just here's a black Agumon. Like their DLC
yeah,
efforts have been very low in the past. So like the fact that
yeah.
they're selling this is like basically their like, and they're not selling this like oh hey you'll get some new dungeons. Like they have that as well. Like there's a specific
Yeah.
thing of like no, there's a big piece of story like a like basically like a future redeemed. Like I don't think it'll be on that scale, but I'll be very curious because
Mhm.
like they're clearly not skimping on the price of it. It's like a $30+ season pass, and the game itself was 70. So it's like clearly they kind of like know what they're putting their money into, and I would sort of be like, especially if Time Stranger stays as self-contained as possible, I think they could actually do some fun stuff of like if they wanted to do like a future redeemed like thing of
Mhm.
incorporate the cyber sleuth characters in the world of Time Stranger, like give them like a weird little epilogue in that setting could be fun. Like that would be a fun thing of like, hey, who's like because realistically for DLC, especially for RPGs, you gotta imagine it's for the most hardcore of your fans. So I think it would make more sense to be like, hey, what is that dude from Hacker's Memory up to? Like let's bring him into this world. Let's see what he would do. Or even if it's not in the same world, like do a weird one-off.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, I'm looking at the season pass right now, and they're gonna have episodes for additional Digimon. I think if we do crossovers with like Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, that'd be really cool. But I'm not like expecting that. I feel like that's like a little too much effort on their part.
This above their punching weight.
You
I
know?
will say though, you know what I'm surprised, especially because the marketing synergy behind it makes way too much sense. It's very weird. I am
Hmm.
shocked that nothing into the game, there's no DLC, no pre-order bonus, nothing even announced for the new Digimon anime that literally came out the same day. So like that could change as well. Like maybe the DLC is like let's bring in the new Digimon from the new game. I mean from the new anime.
Okay.
Like that could be cool, but that's one of those weird ones of like
Yeah.
that's hard to bet on because obviously literally episode 1 just came out yesterday. Like you don't want to
Hmm.
lean on they know it's not Pokemon. Like you can't guarantee every new season of Digimon it's not going to be a hit. Like for every
Right.
adventure and for every frontier, there's a data squad or like there's a crosswords. Like not every series is universally loved.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, for the anime, like I fell off after watching Frontier, I think.
Oh, I mean, listen, Frontier is underrated peak because what did for Digimon anime, I feel like what always happens is obviously everyone loves one, two is okay but messy, three is like for the cool kids, obviously. Like, hey, it's Digimon, but Serial Experiment Lane. Obviously, I get it. The real anime connoisseurs out there, we all know Frontier was where it was at. Frontier was like,
Yeah, because the whole Power Rangers shtick, oh my god. Like I liked all of them, honestly. But like I was like 8 years old when I watched those. So like I liked all of them anyway. Um, I stopped watching after Frontier. I think because like I was googling this the other day, and then the next season after Frontier didn't come out until like a few years later, and then at
Yeah,
that point I was like,
the wait
I'm not
the
watching
wait
Digimon
between
anymore. So why would I get up?
yeah, the wait between Frontier and Data Squad was really long, and then unfortunately, I didn't like the art style. Like, I thought Marcus and like whatever art direction they went with for Data Squad has
Mhm.
never really rubbed me the right way, and
Yeah.
I think the problem is going back to Agumon. Even though it's not the real Agumon, it's a different Agumon. I'm like, I don't really care, dude. Like, no, because like that's the funny thing. Like, Digimon doesn't really have the same problem Pokemon has of like always reusing the same starters. Like, that's why I really
Mhm.
like the story games with the way they do their starters is so funny. Like every now and then like you'll get normally like one or two of the like classics. Like obviously in this one, Patamon is the big one. Demi Devimon is the weird
Mhm.
one, but like my favorite I mean probably weird, not as weird as Demi Devimon, but like do you know the reason why Gabumon, not Gabumon, why Gamamon is the other choice?
Why?
Yasuda, the artist, when they were asking him to come back, was like, okay, well, what do you want? Like, what do you think we should do for the new game? Or like, will you come back and contribute the art for Time Stranger? And they said when they announced the game, or I think this was on Digimon Day, the live stream they did in Japan, Yasuda's only demand for coming back was, I'll come back, but Gamamon has to be a starter. Like that's the only way that he would make it. Because like I love Joe. I think Gamamon is so fun. Like I love his design, and obviously Joe is not the most marketable of the Digidestined. And I'm like I love that he's on it. Like that's
Mhm.
the only reason he's there.
That's funny, actually.
But like they always do like fun choices. Like I loved I forget which one has it, but like the gear Digimon. Like when he was one of the three choices, I'm like, man, that's how you know. Like Digimon is not trying to be there for the marketability. They're like, we'll give you like a Terriermon, but for every Terriermon, you get like the weird rock guy. You get the rock one, you get the gear, you get like the Poopmon. Like Digimon is like,
Mhm.
listen, we're here for us. We're not here to try to impress you.
Mhm. Yeah, I I don't have the same like attachment feelings to my Digimon starter as I do with Pokemon starters, and I think it's partially because Digimon can evolve in so many different ways and have so many different evolution lines that at the end of the day, I feel like my starter is just unrecognizable. But with Pokemon, like I pick a starter and I stick with it, that kind of thing.
No, I get that, and I mean the tricky part is, and it's not even in a bad way. Digimon are just inherently more disposable in the games than they ever are in the anime.
Yeah,
The anime does a really good job of leaning into what
the
makes
mhm.
your starter Digimon your friend, like your partner. It doesn't feel
Yeah,
like
it's
an
like whole friendship thing. Yeah,
yeah, like it's not like they're not even comparable even to like Ash and Pikachu because like there's a funny thing I recently
yeah.
rewatched because like Discotek put out the uncut like first three movies like finally redubbed like all together, and I was rewatching them all
Mhm.
recently, and it made me kind of think of something that I always like I knew he was different, but I thought it was interesting how the movie handled it even in the original Japanese version of the very first ever Digimon OVA where it's Tai and Kari as little kids with
Mhm.
random Agumon that comes out. Like I always knew that he wasn't a normal, like he wasn't like Tai's Agumon, but I thought it was very interesting of like showing the differences of like, hey, just because you have a connection with a Agumon doesn't mean that they're all the same. But it is that funny thing of like that doesn't mean though that the Agumon from the movie is like either good, bad, whatever. Like he's definitely more of just like a
Mhm.
random animal, but Digimon does a really cool job with that because they have the flexibility of the Digimon evolution lines range so differently depending on how you raise them. On top of the fact that
Yep.
Digimon can be boys, can be girls, can be whatever, and they're not kind of held to that like weird construct. Because like that was one of the funny things of when I was streaming the opening of the game when you're in that section where you have to find that Biomon, and
Hmm.
when I went up to the Biomon, I was playing the game in the English voice acting because this is the first Digimon story game to have voice acting in English. I
Yeah.
the reaction I had hearing like whatever random guy who was the voice actor for that Biomon blew like I felt like I got hit by a truck. I was because I was just expecting, oh yeah, all Biomon sound like the one from the show. Like that's where my brain comes
Yeah.
from. But I'm like, oh no, I have to remember like not I have to stop being a Digimon racist. I have to just stop assuming they're all gonna sound the same.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, because like even like Agumon and Greymon sound different in the games than I remember from the anime, and it's always a shock to me. I'm like, oh yeah, you know.
The one thing I also thought was so interesting was, and again going back to the Pokemon comparisons, but not really in a good way for Pokemon. I thought them adding an English dub was going to be okay. I'm sure it'll be okay, but I know it's not going to have the biggest budget, and it's clearly not a huge like AAA voice acting cast with it. I think they do so much more than I would have expected. Of like, I was expecting all the main characters to be voiced, but there's a lot more voice acting than I would have expected in the game, and the fact that every
Yeah,
Digimon has voice acting is insane to me.
yeah. It's impressive. Yeah, but I also think that like it was kind of a disappointment to me that the protagonist still does not have any voice.
Yeah,
It's just so annoying.
the protagonist I only
Yeah.
have like two complaints
Yeah.
with. I am curious because I've listened to it a little bit in trailers, but I've just mostly been playing the game only with the English voice acting. Did you do English or
Mhm.
Japanese?
I did English.
Okay, so the protagonist complaints are weird. They're not game breaking, but it definitely suffers. Like this is them copying the Atlas formula in a negative, I believe. Atlas
Hmm.
is like just the worst for two things when it comes to protagonists. They are silent without real reasoning, and then you might say, oh well, they're silent so that way you can make different choices and they don't have to obviously voice all the different lines, and then that way you can feel like your own character, like you are that person. But then the other problem with that is, much like every Persona game ever, the choices of what you say in Digimon never matter. Like
Don't matter.
they
Yeah,
could be like,
yeah.
Iorio could be like, "Hey, I notice you're an agent, just like my dad. Isn't that so cool?" And you could say, "Yeah, what are the coincidences, right?" Or you could say, "Yes, because I must save the world, as it is I who can be the only one to save the world as the agent." And she'll react the exact same way both times. It's like, why give me a choice if the choices never matter? Just keep progressing the story.
Pretty much, yeah. And the thing about the silent protagonist, like, they're trying to copy like the whole Atlas Persona thing. Well, the thing is that like take again like Joker for example. He doesn't necessarily have full lines, but like he still has like battle lines, right? Like he grunts when he attacks, he grunts when he takes a hit. Um, if you swap different personas out, he says the name of the persona, right? And like even if he didn't speak, I mean, just look at him. He has so much drip. Okay, like he's just cool. Okay, that like he exudes a personality, kind of like a kind of like a edgy vigilante personality. Whereas like if you look at Time Stranger, you know, you're just a person. You
I
get what I mean?
I do, but the tricky thing, especially with the protagonist choices in Time Stranger, is it's a weird one because this is one of my other problems. And for me, just for context, I played the male protagonist, so I'm Dan, and Kanan is the navigator. And one of the things I actually really like about this,
Okay.
I've heard some people say they don't like it. I like that whoever you don't pick is your voice navigator. I think that's a really fun
Yeah.
way around a silent protagonist. It doesn't
Mhm.
forgive it, but the funny thing with it
Yeah.
is like, because I know so many people, and obviously this is why like things like this happen. I know people who would pick the girl, but they would only want to have a female navigator. Like they would want to play the girl and then only hear the girl, because like I kind of get that
Mm.
being a sticking point. But for me, the thing that I thought was funny is the girl's outfit is so much less goofy than Dan's compared to him. To the point though where what's funny is I knew there was DLC costumes. I was surprised how many free costumes that you can just buy in the game are. And what's funny about it is
Hmm.
even though literally you get gifted normal human clothes, that they never
Hmm.
stop making fun of your dumb outfit. And I'm like, I cannot believe that they committed so many lines making fun of your like your weird outfit, even though you can stop
Yeah.
wearing it immediately. And it's like so weird. It's like, listen, number one, hey, I like his outfit. I'm all here for Common Rider outfits. Listen, like let's have fun. But then, it's just be like they've just kept making fun of how weird he looks. That I'm like, this seems like intentionally bullying at this point.
Yeah.
For you, by the way, who did you pick? Did you play as the male or female version?
I played as the female protagonist. So okay, here's the weird thing about me. Okay, so when it comes to picking a gender in video games, I always 90% of the time I picked the female protagonist. The one exception would be like Pokemon, and I don't know why, but it might be because I've been playing Pokemon for forever since I was like six, like 5 or 6. So I've always picked the male protagonist in Pokemon, so I keep doing that. But when it comes to like other games, like like Time Stranger, even like Elden Ring and stuff like that, I always pick the female character, because I've learned this about myself. I don't like to self-insert myself into games.
No, I get that.
It's a very weird.
I have never
Yeah.
judged people who self-insert, but it is one of those things where, as an RPG fan myself, especially with creative character ones, it's
Yeah.
never felt natural. Even in games that I know that they want it to feel like a self-insert, it's always one of those things
Mhm.
where it's like, listen, dude, like I was thinking like there's that funny meme of like in Persona 4 where like it's like on Christmas and like you're spending the night with Yukiko and she's like I love you Jamal-kun. Like that's like I can't put myself in that headspace. I cannot pretend that Yu Narukami is named Jamal. Like I can't do it even though
Yeah, and it's like it made me feel weird because like it's like I like if I'm in that scene, right, and they're like, oh, I love you. I'm like dude, I'm like 30, okay. You're like you're like in high school. What the fuck is this? Like that's just so messed up. Like I cannot do that. I cannot do that. I hate self-insert personally. So what I do is that I would just pick like the female character, and then I would either give them the canon name, or actually I would name the character. Like if there's no canon name, I'll just put my sister's name in it.
Okay, that makes sense. See, mine, as I said, I don't do self inserts, but what's funny is because unless a character very clearly has a canon name or a intended name at time of release, if it's a hey
Yeah, like
put your
Zinga
name, I
Ramen.
I just put my name. So like I always put like Spencer when I'm picking a protagonist because most Atlas games don't suggest one to you. Whereas like in this one, like
Yeah.
clearly the male's name can be Dan and is suggested to be Dan. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
I find that way better than like me putting my name. I don't mind putting my name, but it is that funny thing
Mm.
where like now whenever I play, like when I first played Persona 4, I just put my normal name. Now when I play Persona 4 Golden, I'm like, oh yeah, well that's Yu Narukami. Even though
Yeah.
I like obviously canon names don't mean anything. Like because of
Yeah.
things like the anime or like the manga and especially the other games that do specifically name him, I get it. What's funny is
Mhm.
like Joker to me, I know he has what is considered a canon name. I think it's Akira or something. Like
Yeah.
because his name has always just been Joker in all media he's ever been in. It's that one where I don't consider any of Joker's names canon. Similarly with the Persona 3
Interesting.
protagonist. The Persona 3 protagonist has actually had three different names, one from the movie, one
Yep.
from the
Mhm.
manga, one from the stage play. So like when there's not a consistency even there, then I'm like, okay, he has no name. But it's like Yu Narukami was
Interesting.
just such a meme for so long that I'm like, I could like listen, look at me. I'm not Yu Narukami. I'm not this man.
No, I totally agree with you.
Kind of going though back to everyone else in the game because boy, even though you don't talk in Digimon, but there's a lot of talking in Digimon.
Oh yeah.
How did you feel about the cast? Because one of the things I've been surprised with so far is obviously shocker. It's a RPG that takes place in Tokyo. I think they do a
Hmm.
really good job of making the cast make sense and being full of a lot of weirdos. I think they do a fun job with
Yeah.
like the Cyber Sleuth games also had a really fun and weird cast as well. Of they almost never kind of pick like the safe archetypes for characters. They have an interesting mix of younger student age people versus the adults as well. And I think it's also nice that thank God you do not even touch going to a school in this game. Like the last thing I ever want,
Yeah.
like if we're a JRPG and we're in Tokyo, okay, I'll forgive it. Like if you throw me in a school, I'm like, you better have a damn good reason I'm in a school.
Yeah, the cast, I didn't really um resonate with the human cast as well. I I think the trio of protagonist, that girl, I forget her name, it's like Iano or something. Um so the protagonist, the girl, and um Aegeomon, I think that trio is solid. But the rest of the human characters, like the public safety team, the other like agents, they're so boring and so forgettable. And like and that probably, personally, I think the weakest part of the game. I just don't see why they're like even there. And then, but but I do love the the Digimon main characters, right? Because they're based off the Olympus 12 group, right?
Yes.
And I think they have a lot of great personalities.
Yeah, that was one of the funny things. I was like, obviously, I we had known. I want to say when they first talked about this, maybe 2021 or 2022, about the main theme of the game
Mhm,
with the Olympus 12, and how
mhm.
central it was going to be in terms of the Digimon. And then when a lot of the marketing, I've been really surprised with how much they kind of underplay the Digimon story lore, because it's like
Yeah.
once you get to the
Mhm,
digital world, like there's like they throw you into it. They're like, hey, these are these tribes, these people are with these people, like these Digimon are at war, the humans have a different faction in a war that are all going on. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in there. And what's kind of funny is like
yeah.
I feel like while the Cyber Sleuth games had more of a human focus to it, Time Stranger very much
Mhm,
seems like, hey, we're gonna just dive headfirst into Digimon digital world lore.
mhm. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's been nice, especially just because like having more Digimon characters like actually be characters, like in whether it be NPCs or not, I think was a really really funny choice.
Mhm.
And I'm glad because I haven't had to spend too much time with him, but I did mess around a little bit with the new Digimon who, oh man, you had said it's the one, it's like the humanoid one of, I'm forgetting his name because it's
Digimon?
Agumon. Yeah, I think Agumon is a really funny one because obviously his design is very purposeful. Of like he kind of fits that camp of both. He's a humanoid looking Digimon who interacts with your
Yeah.
human cast members a lot, but is still a Digimon at its heart.
Yeah.
And so like that I think is like a good sort of way because he's his relationship as well is especially interesting, and I'm more curious once I kind of get into it with it of like it's sort of funny because like you were mentioning of you don't really feel like your starter Digimon, you don't have that kind of bond with it, but I'm really kind of curious to see firsthand myself like how Inori and Agumon, like they clearly have that relationship, like he is her
Yeah.
Digimon.
Yeah. Um, I I think it's a little sappy, like the bond between them two. But like I think that's typical of like a JRPG, so it didn't really like bother me.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah. But I do like them overall.
I will say though, because we were talking about characters and dumb outfits before, have you messed with any of the DLC costumes?
Briefly, but I can't remember one off the top of my head though.
Shout out like 10 out of 10 bonus points. This isn't like a deep, deep cut, but I love how one of the
Mhm.
costumes for Aegeomon, you can dress him up as Analog Youth. I think that's like anyone who brings up Analog Youth in the year 2025 deserves like a high five. Like it's so funny. Of like he is the protagonist of like the first ever Digimon video game, and like no one ever remembers him. The other kind of funny
Oh, I can see that.
the other funny thing is I think ironically the male outfits, like he has all the boring outfits with the exception of there's an Agumon like hoodie, which like it looks. And,
Mhm.
honestly, I say hoodie because I'm trying to make it sound cooler. It's a onesie. He's running around in a onesie, but I like that outfit compared to all of his other like ones. He has the worst swimsuit outfit.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, and I can't figure out why, they might release it later. It's very weird. Like they have an outfit for the Adventure Crew, they have one where they're dressed up as Digimon themselves, and they have one for Hacker's Memory, but they don't have one for Cyber Sleuth, which is like very strange because like I'm like I feel like the main boy
Wait. The
protagonist.
costume DLC for Cyber Sleuth?
Yeah, well, no, not for Cyber. There is one for Cyber Sleuth, but there is not costumes for Hacker's Memory. That's what I was. That's what I
Ah,
thought was
right.
weird.
Okay, okay.
Because I'm like, Hacker's
Yeah.
Memory has some of the
Yeah.
coolest
Yeah.
outfits,
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
but
Huh. Yeah, weird.
again, that could be one of like the later ones with it. I thought it was cool that the DLC costumes are not like oppressively like it's very much of hey, you know if you're gonna dig with this one or not. The thing that I'm kind of
Mhm.
curious to get my hands on because MediaVision has never done this before. Again, taking the hey, can I copy your homework atlas? One of the DLCs they did not give out as part of the Ultimate Edition is there's two pieces of DLC, and one of them is just straight up. You know how every Atlas game, at least the ones that are RPGs, always have the here's the paid DLC dungeon for more money, more XP, and more materials.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
straight up have that, and it's like one of those things where you can go to the hotel in between worlds, and then you can just do
Yep.
that there. And I was like, I
Yep.
gotta check this out because like I always hate like, and I mean I hate when they do that as DLC, but it is interesting because some games will do it and it's really egregious, like the way it's handled in Raito. It's like insultingly bad. It's like, oh, this game's just broken at this point. But like that was a game that was
Yeah.
designed and had no way to factor it in there. Since this is MediaVision's like first time doing that, I would kind of be curious about it, especially for Digimon. But like, I'm sure it's egregious. I would not even recommend anyone do it without the fact of like I only want to check it out so I could like maybe do a video about like I'm expecting this to be bad, but how bad is it? but
Yeah. I think I saw it in my list, but I didn't get a chance to dive into it.
the other one that I will say I'm very hit or miss when anime games, especially Bandai Namco games, have anime music as paid DLC. And most times I'm kind of like I don't need it, or I don't like all these songs, or like they're okay. Like for fighting games, it makes a little bit more sense. RPGs are weird, uh, but when I saw the track list for it's like $20, and I saw what it included, I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna lie. I can't even be mad at this for $20. I haven't bought it yet, but I'm like, I'm probably gonna cave eventually because it's just straight up. You can, at any point in the game, have the opening and ending song for every Digimon anime from Adventure 1 all the way to Ghost Game. And I'm like,
Mhm.
for $20, that's really not bad. The only reason I'm not in a hurry to check it out is because I want to listen to the new song. Which, by the way, I don't know how you
Right.
feel about it. The soundtrack, unsurprisingly, 10 out of 10. It's a very good soundtrack.
Yeah, good. The weird thing about I think the soundtrack is that I think the sound mixing is weird.
Really?
The at least at least from my perspective, um, the music I feel like is drowned out by everything else, like the sound effects and the voices sometimes. I don't know if it's just my setup,
Would
but
you would you say
I
like?
might
Do you
have to
mean
double
like
check.
even in gameplay or like with cutscenes or like where would you say the sound mixing threw you off the most?
Probably during battle.
Okay, I could get that. I'm still
Yeah.
early enough with it. There, ironically, the
Mhm.
early beginnings of it, especially God, that opening part when you're in Millennium Tower is so funny because it's like there are just sections with like almost no like catchy theme songs at all. Like it's very like
Yeah.
overbearing and dark and stuff. So it is kind of funny, but
Yeah.
for you, especially because you got to hear most, if not all, of the soundtrack with it, how would you feel it kind of compares to the other Cyber Sleuth games?
Huh.
Because I feel like, at least from what
I
I've
think my
heard so
favorite.
far, it's
I think
still
my favorite is Cyber Sleuth still.
okay. Because like the funny thing is, it's Takada again. It's Masafumi Takada who had done all the other Cyber Sleuth games and then the Danganronpa soundtracks. I feel like this
Mhm.
is like more orchestral heavy than I would have assumed with him. He obviously does a lot of stuff with like synths and instruments and stuff, but
Yeah,
I've been surprised with how much like kind of grand sweeping music there is with it.
yeah. I think that direction kind of reflects the 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 grander scope of Time Stranger's story and kind of like I guess the budget as well.
Okay. But speaking of that in music as well, I don't know how much you ever kind of keep an eye out for stuff like this, but I am a
Sure.
sucker for music options ranging from hey, here are some unlockable songs or you can have customization for this. And one of the guiltiest things with Atlas games or whenever they do music DLC, 9 out of 10 times it's handled terribly. It's like, okay, you get this one song, but only if you're wearing this costume and only during these kind of battles. Like they have so many asterisks next to
Yeah.
them that it's like,
Hmm.
why did you even do this? Like it's not even worth that kind of effort.
Right.
Media Visions with Digimon Time Stranger said, "Hey, what if we let you select every single song
Every
under every
single.
single circumstance whenever you want? Like the music setting for how it lets you customize it through the menus, the fields, open worlds, regular battles, boss battles, even when you're doing the card game stuff. It's like they were like,
Mhm.
"Hey, we're going to give you so much flexibility you will never like there will never give you an option to kind of complain about the soundtrack."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just very weird because like I
Yeah.
feel like
I think Flex was really good. Yeah.
it's just kind of funny because like the music setting, like that's the kind of thing that I don't know if I'm like thinking of like or just forgetting with it. I feel like you just don't see that, especially for a lot of like RPGs, which is funny because RPGs are often so associated with their soundtrack. And if anything,
Yeah.
it kind of like that's the kind of mode that I would almost expect to unlock after beating the game, because it's kind of funny. Like it almost
Mhm.
lets you sort of like skip around stuff and like not really get to experience it naturally. But it is nice that it is just there right away from like the get go.
Mhm. Yeah. I agree. No. 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 Because like no. Because I get what you mean. Because in RPGs, like some RPGs, when you beat the game, your reward is like a jukebox.
And that jukebox, you can listen to it in one mode. Maybe it's the main menu, but never when you're playing the game.
Yeah. Yep.
I've got a couple other ones. I know we're going a little bit long here, but some things I wanted to bug you
Right.
with. For the
Sure.
game, how did you find difficulty? Because I would say I feel like this was one of like I died. It was a thing of it always gave me a good enough challenge, but it was like for me I had no complaints on the difficulty so far. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel like it
Yeah.
ramps pretty well, or like where would you kind of compare it yourself?
Yeah, I think it's well balanced in terms of difficulty, especially if you play on like standard difficulty. If you obviously want a challenge, play on like the harder ones. Um, but I do think that you'll need to engage with the side quests a lot more than you typically would in a game if you just like to critical path it, because you get like anomaly points, which are points that you can use to like unlock skills for the protagonist, right? And the higher your agent rank, the more powerful Digimon that you can create, right? And so if you're just beelining it through the story, you might get to an end game thing, and and you're stuck with maybe champion level Digimon, okay, or maybe just getting your ultimate level Digimon. By the end of the game, you ideally want to have 3 mega level. You know, and so I think that's I think that's a way of the game at least putting in some difficulty, depending on the level your Digimon are at. But overall, I think the difficulty was pretty good, just right.
This kind of goes into difficulty, but is a weird one for it. I don't know if maybe it just happens at the most random times that I'm never ready for it. Do you
Hmm.
feel like when you're doing that extra action where it does the circle QTE, where it, like you have to press like
Yeah.
the X or A button with it, does that just feel like that goes like 50% too fast? Every time I've had it happen, I'm just like I'm never ready for it, and it's just always funny. I'm like, oh damn it.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I can see what you mean.
Because it's funny, it's like it's not strict. Like I get great, pretty much good enough, but like I've never done it where it's right on excellent before, and it is just so funny. Like it happens
Mhm.
just rarely enough that I'm always never
Yeah.
expecting it. So it's that thing where like, no, I'm probably not gonna get it. But like it is a kind of like a fun extra mechanic to have in there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it it depends because I think that the stronger your bond is with the Digimon, the more frequent they pop up.
yes, yeah, and there's a lot of extra for that because when you mentioned the agent rank and the skill trees, the skill trees are
Mhm.
not unlocked in the prologue or the demo. So when I finally got my hands on the game,
Mm.
when I finally got to
Interesting.
look at all the agent skills, I was like, "Oh, this is a pretty good skill tree." And I was making my
Yeah.
choices and checking it out. And then I realized I was only looking at the first of like the five skill trees, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, no, there's a ton of customization. Like the skill trees are
Mhm.
super different."
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Last couple things I wanted to bring up. Was there any either like nitpicks or weird little things that kind of came up to you while you were playing that you were like, this doesn't ruin it for me, but this is like a weird thing where it's kind of like, I don't get why are you doing this or why are you not doing this? Like, was there anything like that that kind of surprised you about while playing it?
Let me think. The fast travel system is a bit wonky. Um, yeah. So basically, if you want to travel between like different areas, you have to get on. I think it's Birdramon, the giant flaming bird Digimon
Yeah,
thing. You have to talk. You have to talk with Birdramon to go to the different areas. Within like a section of the world. And it's really annoying because I'd much rather just pull up a menu and fast travel and not have to just like interact with a Digimon. I don't know why they didn't just do that, honestly.
yeah,
But other than that, yeah.
and I was kind of surprised as well because they offer a lot of really good handy tools at your disposal, like with your phone, to the point that the stuff that's
Mhm.
not there almost feels like an oversight versus intentional. Where like
Yes.
unless just haven't unlocked it yet, after I finally unlocked it, I was like, oh well, clearly I'll be able to access the Digifarm from my phone, right? No, and I'm like,
No.
really? Like that feels
Yeah.
kind of weird that you have to go back to this one spot to
Mhm.
just access your farm, even though you can do
Yeah.
stuff with your farm, you just can't take anyone out or in from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and one more thing. You know the cross arts, right? Those
Yes.
like ultimate attacks that. Okay, I was going crazy during my time. You can't equip more than one at a time, right?
It's that you can't equip more than one
Okay,
at a time, and
that's so weird.
it does feel weird because it's like it feels like a thing that you should just be once you have the cross art meter full, you should be able to then just be
You would
like,
just you would
so,
just you would just you would just pull up the menu and then you just have a drop down list of options. But no, you only have one and just list it there.
well,
And it's like why?
I think not only is that weird, it's also more weird that it has to be whatever one you went into battle with selected. Like
Yes,
I think
yes,
if you even when it's not full could be like I want the cross art that heals or I want the one that does major damage or I want this buff.
yes.
Because they're all
Mhm.
so situational, it's not like you're just wanting to have the same limit. So like that's one where I'm like I feel like that has to get patched because it's like that's just one menu added. Like there's no
Yeah.
reason changing crossarts in
Mhm.
battle can't be done. It wouldn't break the game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And no, no, because I was looking at it and then I had to confirm it with another person who was reviewing the game. I was like, "Hey, dude, um, it's not just me, right? Like, you can only pick one cross art at a time." And he's like, "Yeah, it seems like that." And it's like, okay, to make sure I wasn't going crazy, I was like, "Cause like that's such a weird decision. Like, why would you do that?"
And it is funny because it's like they're not handled like the Magatsui meter in SMT5 because that's one where
Hmm.
you have access to multiple. depending on your party
Hmm.
layup. Those are the
Yep.
kind of thing that like that limit like there are battles that just straight up become a cakewalk because of those skills. Like and I'm sure that the
Yeah.
crosshair ones as I unlock more of them there are like I'm sure there will be the most meta one to have selected, but especially early game
Yep.
you're unlocking so many different ones that it just seems weird to not allow that experimentation in battle
Hmm.
versus okay, this battle I want this one because there's no pros or cons to using one versus the other.
Right.
Uh,
Exactly. Yeah. 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 They're very situational, right? Right. Because like the first one you unlock, it does like party wide damage, right?
no, the first one you unlock
Um.
is just buffs. It just doubles up. It like
Oh,
doubles
really?
up everyone's
Okay.
speed,
Never
attack,
mind
and
then.
defense
Okay.
for 2 turns.
Well. Okay. Right. 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 There. Okay. So there's one that does like party wide damage to
Yes,
your
the first
enemies,
one
and
in
then
the attack branch you unlock,
yeah. Yeah.
which by the way is
Yeah.
funny because when I saw that cross art and I used it for the first time, I in my head because the way you activate it is you basically just turn your cell phone into a comp and most of the
Yeah.
time you're shooting your own Digimon to activate the effect. I thought it was going to be
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to use the cross art to make my Digimon do the equivalent of like an all-out attack. No, no, no. You just turn your gun into a nuke. You just shoot,
And then shoot
you
them.
just
Yeah.
shoot them with your gun. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right. I mean, I
Yep.
guess it works.
Yep. 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 And then the other one is you can do single target damage, but it's like a lot more powerful because it's single target only. And that was really the only one that I used ever for like the majority of the game because I only ever needed the cross arts for like bosses. Because like you can like break their stance, when they're like powering up their like super move or whatever. And so having that one cross art ready to go is so important. Otherwise, they'll just like wipe you.
I was
So like there's no reason to ever like switch from that.
no, I and that makes sense for me as well. One of the last things I wanted to bring up with you because we were talking a lot about presentation as well as like um, frame rate and stuff before. Where did you review Time Stranger on?
I reviewed it on a PS5.
Okay, so for you, and this one's not been as big of a deal with Time Stranger, I think mostly because it's
Mhm.
only on newer systems as well as PC. I this has been a funny one where I don't mind that it's at 30 FPS. I think it looks great for the most part. I think it
Mhm.
like looks really good. It runs good at 30. But what's been funny is like it clearly can run at 60 because on PC it's locked to 30 or 60. 60 is like the fastest it'll let it go up to. And it
Yeah.
was one of those kind of surprises where it's like I'd be curious if they added an option, but even through their interviews and stuff, they don't have any plans for it right away. And it's funny because it's like the game looks good. I think the game runs really well. It's like running on their own, the same like engine as their last couple games. But what's funny is like
Mhm.
it doesn't like look like how the Cyber Sleuth games did before. Like you look at comparisons even of like the Digimon, like they did not do the copy paste thing that the Pokemon Company does. Like they clearly updated every single one of these
Mhm.
models. Like attacks might be the same from the Cyber Sleuth, but all the models
Yeah.
look drastically, drastically better. So like for you, did you
Yeah.
ever feel any weirdness with the frame rate, or like how did you feel about like graphically, like how did it look?
Mhm. Um, I thought it ran fine. I'm not a stickler for frame rate unless it's like actively like detrimental. You know, um, something like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. You're just running out into the open world, and then all of a sudden you have like a Pokemon encounter, but you don't know why. And then the very last minute, something you know the where you're standing on a Pokemon pops out, but you didn't see it because the draw distance was so fucking bad. But like unless it's a situation like that, I'm not like a huge stickler for frame rate and performance. It ran well, ran nice. But yeah.
Did you have to kind of end it on a bit of a positive? Were there any
Mhm.
surprises or anyone that you saw Digimon wise in the game that like stood out to you as like a oh that was cool or like any like specific ones you really liked having in your party?
Um, hmm. Not necessarily. I don't have like a specific favorite Digimon, but I will say, uh, the one thing that surprised me the most about Time Stranger was how solid the story was. I think it was definitely a step up from the previous Digimon story games, and I think that was ultimately what kind of sealed the deal for me. Apart with obviously the other improvements from graphics, battle system, stuff like that.
Yeah, I was glad also to see like not only that people were really enjoying the story when reviews came out, but also that the story, even though it's a lot grander in scale than the past two story
Mhm.
games, it still has a really respectable length. I'm glad it's not a
Yeah.
90-hour RPG. I do not think
Yeah.
Yeah, Digimon does not need to be like that long.
No, it doesn't.
I will say though, especially just because like we mentioned this had been in development for so long, I would be so curious about either what had changed, like what kind of made it go through development for so long. Because like my only kind of guess with it would maybe just be like story stuff. Because the thing that I've been surprised about the most is like how many locations there are apparently in the game and how
Mhm.
drastically different they are. Like the world
Yes.
variety just seems crazy in the game.
Yep. Yeah, you have like your tundra, you have your ocean area, you have the forest, you have the lava, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And the thing with it of my time in the digital world has still been really really minor, but like was so apparent to me when you get to your first like major town is
Hmm.
man they like the way that this game and even stuff like Persona 5 has done where they make Tokyo really feel like a city even if it's not obviously
Yeah.
full of all those people and they bring that exact same love and attention over to the Digimon towns is awesome.
Oh,
Like
definitely. Yeah.
seeing little things like oh here we've got like the Ukamon like as a shore like as a shopkeeper. We've got like a bunch of like of the rookies and stuff like going to a school and like all the like world building they do just looking at the Digimon. Like it's so funny of like again another difference between like Digimon and Pokemon of like Digimon are still such people in the sense of like yeah, I mean obviously a Digimon can be your partner, but for all the other Digimon that
Yeah.
exist in the world, they have their own lives, they have their own routines, they can have families, they have all these other things. And like
Hmm.
just from exploring that first town and just be like, man, I cannot wait to see all the other ones because it's like that's that part where the show I felt like shined way more than the games. The games always felt very hollow because it's hard to do the digital world without it just coming off super gamey. Without it just kind of feeling like, oh, well, I
Right.
mean, yeah, like this Digimon exists as like an enemy you can fight, but like there's not really going to be more than maybe one or two in this dungeon that you can talk to.
Right.
But
No,
yes,
I get it.
uh, I'm glad it's good. I'm glad people are enjoying it. I don't know how they did it. Bandai Namco's weird. They're one of those publishers, kind of like Square in the sense of like they like to just wait till the end of the year and release like 9 games back to back to back. So I'm glad this one has stuck the landing. I'm really excited for more people to play it. I'm still going to be working on my review for it as well. And again,
Sure.
kind of going back to really brilliant that it's not on the Switch, and especially kind of in a pre Pokemon launch time for it. Put your money on the bank. There is no way in hell Bandai is not as soon as all the DLC is done for this. Clearly, they're just gonna put this on Switch too. Like there's no, and they're then gonna get all
Yeah.
the double dippers out there. They're like, there's no reason this game couldn't be on Switch too, and so I'm sure that like this time next year it'll be out on everything.
Hmm. Yeah, I can totally see it.
But George, I have kept you for an egregiously long amount of time. So I will let us get out of here, trying to enjoy the rest of your weekend. But before then, while I get ready for the outro stuff, where can people
Sure.
find you? Where do you want them to find you? What are your socials, and what stuff should we be looking out for?
Yeah, you can find me primarily on Twitter or Bluesky, whichever one you're on. It should be under my username is Yin Yang Fooey, YinYangFooey, and that's it.
And obviously we're living in the fun, fast, wild world of multiple embargoes going on at the same time. I know you
Mhm.
probably can't say whatever is coming up review wise that you have going on. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, if you just want to tell us Pokemon ZA is a 7 out of 10, just be silent for the rest of the episode. But the for you personally, reviewer side put out of it, what else are you kind of looking forward to this year yourself? Like, what's on your, if even if you're
Yeah.
not reviewing it, what's on your can't wait to play list?
Yeah. Well, currently, I'm playing one embargo game right now that I can't really discuss. Um, but I'm also currently playing my way through like um Borderlands 4. I've already reviewed Borderlands 4, but I do like the game, so I'm just playing. I'm just doing a lot of the side stuff in that game. I didn't review Final Fantasy Tactics. I just simply did not have enough time for that. But I'm excited to hopefully dig my pause in that soon. Probably in like November. October is a really really busy month. You obviously have like Pokemon, right? You have also Ninja Gaiden 4, Outer Worlds 2, a bunch of different games. Oh, I'm also really excited for Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remake.
Oh my god,
Um,
can't wait.
so yeah, a lot of games coming out. Your backlog isn't clearing anytime soon, man. Um, but yeah, currently going through that for the rest of the year. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Real quick question, because you brought up tactics, which God, I cannot.
Sure.
Too many games. I played the
Yep.
original. I can't wait. I'm glad it's amazing and everyone's liking it for it, especially because it was like the worst kept remaster secret of all time, up there with like
Yeah.
FF9. Have you played or have you ever played any of the Tactics games?
I played the original Tactics game. I think um I played the original Tactics game a long time ago. This is like before I was like maybe 10 years old. I don't even remember.
just
I
just
believe
running
I
around the menus and being like, I don't know what's going on. We're just a lot of
exactly like
squares.
I I I briefly remember like the very beginning of the game, but I don't remember anything past that. So going into the Evilise Chronicles, well, honestly, it will be a completely new experience to me.
Yeah, I'm excited. I probably hadn't touched it in like 20-ish years at the most with it, and even then it's been such a long time. So those games are just so few and far between that it's like I loved the remaster of like Tactics Ogre. Getting more stuff like this will be really
Mhm.
fun. It's just one of those ones where it's like, man, I hope there's enough of us playing that one because like Tactics is another one where like I could easily see that kind of slipping
Yeah.
through people's notifications just
Right.
with the release radar. But I'm at least glad the
Yeah.
game as a whole was really solid.
Yeah. And I actually have one more question for you. From what you've played this year, what are your give me like your top
Oh,
4 or 5 favorites?
man, that's so hard. I have so many like gaping holes in like my release stuff from this year as well. Like I still feel so
Right.
bad I haven't even touched 100 Line Academy, but
Okay.
I don't have a top 5 like
Mhm.
solidified yet, but like out of all the stuff I've played, it's it right now, it's probably the general list. Like if I'm going from my heart, Death Stranding, I will say, has weirdly like stayed more relevant than I kind of thought coming off of
Okay.
Expedition 33. I'm a huge
Okay.
Kojima glazer, so I mean I'm not surprised by that there. But the thing with Death Stranding 2, I always tell people when I talk about it, that's funny about it is somehow like Kojima's safest game, but still sticks with me more than I thought it would. It's very weird. But
Mhm.
Death Stranding 2 is probably in my 4 running. Expedition,
Okay.
Donkey Kong,
Hmm.
I've played so many old games this year. I gotta even remember what I've still played new wise. Uh, um, man, just putting me on the spot here. Do you know yours? Because like this year's been so weird. Of like I've tried, ironically, like playing more on my backlog than buying
Hmm.
like newer stuff with it. Of like I've been going through so much older ones. I'm like trying to think with it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
this will not even make it in the top five, but I will say got way higher in my list than it has any right to, and like no one covered it at all. Demon Slayer
okay.
2, pretty good. If you're someone who came out,
Interesting.
if you
Okay.
came out of Demon Slayer the movie, or even were leading up to it, that has no right being as fun as it is. It is clearly just more CyberConnect stuff, like the Ultimate Ninja
Yeah.
games with it, but it's like
Yep.
for all the time I put into that game, I was like, that really good, super fun. Obviously, not make anyone's game of the year for it, but like for games like that, they're kind of dying of like the licensed anime fighter ones. And if they are, they're always kind of different or really bad. Like every single My Hero
Yeah.
Academia game has just been such garbage.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I would say for me, it's at least a three-way tie between Donkey Kong, Expedition, and Death Stranding, just slightly in the lead. But yeah, I've got so many other
Okay.
ones. Like I own Silent Hill F, but I don't want to jump
Hmm.
into it until I finish Silent Hill 2 remake. Even though, ironically, I
Hmm.
think I might like F more than 2 remake. I love Silent Hill 2, but it's like the more I hear people talk about F, I'm like, damn, F sounds really good.
I would second that. I think you should try F before going into two.
The problem is I've already started a playthrough of 2, so I'm like,
Oh, okay.
ironically, 2 remake is longer than F, but I know I'm gonna want to do all the endings in F more than 2.
Yeah,
That's the weird
got
one.
it.
So it's
Okay.
like I think ironically, pound for pound, I'll probably just burn through 2 remake just to get it done, and also because I haven't played a brand new real ass Silent Hill game in so long. Like I'm excited for it, but it's this year's really funny. Like I'm looking at everything I've played. I've just done so much more backlog stuff than anything. It's like my big
Mhm.
releases this year that I've played is like I'm not putting Ryder Remastered up there, but hey, that was fun. Um, and it's just a whole bunch of other stuff. Like even leading up to Borderlands 4, I love Borderlands, so I'm excited to play 4. But I was like, hey, you know
Mhm.
what? I never played. I never played any of the DLC for 3, and I never played New Tales from the Borderlands. So I was like, I should just go ahead and wrap those up because like before Borderlands 3 came out, I went on this massive tear where I played and platinumed every single Borderlands, anything from 1 to pre-sequel Tales. I even got the Vita Platinum, which boy, that was a Herculean fucking effort. But it was one of those things where I just got so into it, and then by the time I played in Platinum 3, my body was kind of like, I think I need a Borderlands break. So then leading up to 4,
Yeah.
I was excited, but then again, there's so much stuff coming out in September,
Yeah.
and then ironically, because of the performance stuff, I'm kind of like, I'm not in a hurry to play 4, but I everything I've seen from it, I'm like, 4 looks great. I can't wait to play 4.
Mhm. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, and then so for me, I think my top four for this year solidified would be Expedition 33, 100 Line Last Defense Academy, the Trails in the Sky remake, and probably Hades 2. That is, I think, the solid core four for me. I'm gonna figure out the rest of my top 10 later, but right now that's what it's looking like.
I've got a ton of homework, but it's like I still feel like with how weird the rest of the year is, I could still see stuff moving. I could easily see,
Mhm.
which again feels weird. I will not be shocked if Digimon creeps into my top 5. I don't expect it to overtake
Mhm.
anything, but depending on the mood I'm in with it, it could go either way with it. I'm curious to see how I'll feel about
Sure.
Yote, and I'm extra curious to
Hmm.
see how much sticking power Metroid and Zelda will have this year. Like those I'm really,
Right.
really curious about.
Sure.
But yeah, besides that
All right.
though,
Cool.
man, yeah. I it's just this your question has now just made me feel so sad because I'm like, God, I thought I've played a lot of games this year. I have, just with the exception of I've played like nothing new this year. I've like in the single digits of new things. I've just been like, well, I don't really have to play a lot of stuff for this, so let's just work on X, Y, and Z. And then now it's just making me
Yeah.
realize like how many other new games I still have to play and still have to get
Yeah, it's
to.
a lot.
Oh, also, I'm
Cool.
not expecting it, but
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's forgetting about it. I think people are going to be surprised with Kirby Air Riders is going to go one of two ways. It will review incredibly well or incredibly middling. There will be no middle ground. It'll be like you will love or despise Kirby Air Grounds. So, into the
Yeah,
show.
I think that's how it'll go.
Well, actually, well here I might as well ask with it. Have you had a chance to mess with it, or did you ever play the original Kirby Air Riders?
No, I did not. So I don't really, I don't even know what to expect,
Well,
honestly.
I've got about 3 hours of Masahiro Sakurai videos that you can watch. He'll gladly explain that game to you for for the next 9 hours.
I might check it out later.
All right, but end of the show. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to us rant. I feel like we did about 4 podcasts within a 4 hour time span, so hopefully you will enjoy this. George, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and letting me ramble at you for as long as we did, so thank you for so much.
Yeah, no problem, man.
And everybody out there, if you enjoyed our ramblings and just want to hear more video game discussion or coverage and stuff like that, feel free to check out the show notes where we've got all the links for finding the Twitter, Bluesky, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all that fun stuff. But if you enjoy the show and want to help support it, the best way outside of just subscribing and following it on all the platforms is on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/SMTN, and there you can get different access to stuff at the $1 tier, which is just the entry level. Hey, thanks for supporting the show, stuff like that, as well as the $5 and up executive producer tier. And I want to give a big shout out to all of the executive producers for supporting us. So big thanks to Aaron McNamara, Twist, John Massey, Jesus Coon, Crazy Sloth, Michael Wilson, Budweiser Tall Cans, Carlos Hernandez, Cross Rin, Winnie, Jagingis, Gorosero, Solaire, Stephen Yip, and Patrick Dissart. Thank you all so much for helping me keep the lights on. George, thank you for letting me steal you for so long today. And as soon as I'm done editing, unsurprisingly, I will just throw myself right back into Digimon because I'm a big man baby. Yeah, it was great getting to chat with you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. All right.
All right,
Have a good rest of your day, man.
see you.
Bye.